1. Returning to the pre-aberration state, swallowing a Black Mamba snake alive. Parallel world, star blue continent, Qianlong Empire. Ah! A terrifying roar suddenly echoed in the quiet classroom, where only the teacher's lecture could be heard. Holy crap! The sudden roar startled many students, causing them to curse and glare angrily towards the source of the sound. In the third row by the window, Gu Qijue was drenched in sweat, his eyes scanning the familiar yet strange surroundings with a look of disbelief. Gu Qijue, yelling in class, "Do you have a problem with me? If you don't want to listen, you can sleep. I've seen plenty of useless people like you in my many years of teaching." The lecturer was a bald, middle-aged man, his sharp gaze fixed coldly on Gu Qijue. Gu Qijue ignored the bald teacher, silently sat down, and turned his head to look at the sun-drenched sports field outside the window. A fierce glint, an expression unbefitting his age, flashed in his eyes. He pulled out his phone and checked it. He grinned. "I actually underwent rebirth from that living hell of an apocalypse back to my university days. 3 hours before the global aberration." Gu Qijue's eyes widened in disbelief, then gleamed with excitement. "The aberration hasn't erupted yet. It's just past 2 in the afternoon. I still have 3 hours to prepare." With this thought, he stood up and said, "Teacher, I'm going to the restroom." With that, he didn't wait for the teacher's permission, stood up, and quickly walked out of the classroom. After leaving the classroom, his steps quickened, eventually almost running. Leaving the teaching building, Gu Qijue ran directly towards the school gate. He ran out of the school and headed straight for the back mountain. As he ran, he muttered to himself, "There are still 3 hours. I wonder if it's enough time." He vaguely remembered that at 5 p.m. sharp today, when the galaxy-like aurora swept across Blue Star, approximately 60 to 70% of all flora and fauna globally, including humans, mutated into various terrifying monsters. In just a few short hours, the order humanity had established over thousands of years collapsed. In that hellish apocalypse, to survive, Gu Qijue had swallowed rats from the sewers and tried to eat mutated monsters, but they were truly difficult to stomach. He barely clung to life, struggling for 8 years, only to finally have his head bitten off alive by a mutated monster. Whether this is a dream or a true rebirth, without madness, one cannot become a Buddha. Gu Qijue's gaze was cold, and his running speed increased. 20 minutes later, he finally reached the school's back mountain. He vaguely remembered that after the global aberration began, a black dragon was born in the school's back mountain. This black dragon was terrifyingly powerful, and in his previous life, it almost swept through humanity's super martial warriors. What is a super martial warrior? Humans, animals, and plants that were swept by the mysterious aurora but did not mutate had a chance to awaken super martial arts. This super martial art was a mark. By triggering the mark, one could summon powerful armor to possess their body. In his previous life, Gu Qijue did not awaken super martial arts, and surviving for 8 years as an ordinary person was already his limit. Since he was reborn, and still couldn't awaken super martial arts, he had to find another path. He needed to find the black snake in the school's back mountain that would mutate into a black dragon. To transform into a dragon, it must be a snake, but how could he find it in such a vast back mountain? Gu Qijue was drenched in sweat as he ran and searched through the back mountain jungle. Perhaps it was heaven's favor. 2 hours later, in the bushes ahead, Gu Qijue saw a terrifying black snake, completely black, coiled under the shade of a tree taking a nap. "This is a Black Mamba," Gu Qijue, who had some knowledge of snakes, recognized it at first glance. Although Black Mamba has black in its name, the snake's body color is rarely black. Most are gray, grayish-blue, dark green, brown, tan, or earthy yellow. Gu Qijue hadn't expected to encounter such a rare Black Mamba, but how could there be a Black Mamba here? Gu Qijue couldn't understand it. Such a snake shouldn't appear in the Qianlong Empire. While puzzled, he also had a headache wondering how to catch it. If he was even slightly careless and got bitten, he would die before the aberration even arrived. Gu Qijue didn't disturb it, leaning against a large tree. Frowning in thought, he couldn't kill it, because he had to swallow it alive right before the aurora swept across the globe. Of course, before swallowing it alive, he had to knock it out first. Only then would it be possible, when the aurora shone, to acquire the Black Mamba's genes and evolve with it through the aberration. Unable to awaken super martial arts, Gu Qijue could only risk his life and try this. He didn't know if it would succeed, but even if it didn't, it would just be death. In the aberration apocalypse, ordinary people who couldn't awaken as super martial artists lived a life worse than beasts. Gu Qijue didn't want to experience that again. Succeed or die trying, only death. Fortunately, This black mamba seemed to be a juvenile, not very long or thick, easier to swallow. Meow, just as Gu Qijue was racking his brain on how to catch the snake. Suddenly, a meow came from nearby. Gu Qijue looked up. He saw a rather robust tabby cat, seemingly having discovered the black mamba. Its cat eyes lit up, and it stealthily crept closer. Hiss! When the two were less than 30 centimeters apart, the black mamba suddenly leaped up, biting at the tabby cat with abnormal speed. But the tabby cat reacted even faster, retreating and dodging while swatting it away with a paw. One cat and one snake thus became entangled in a fight. A moment later, the dazed black mamba tried to flee, but how could the tabby cat let such a delicious, spicy strip get away? It went in for a few more swipes with its paws. Heaven is truly helping me. Gu Qijue, hidden in the shadows, watched the black mamba being tormented to a pulp, ready to emerge and chase away the tabby cat once it was completely helpless. Before long, the black mamba was beaten to a near-death state, lying on the ground faintly twitching, completely devoid of any power to fight back. Just as the tabby cat proudly stepped forward, ready to feast, Gu Qijue suddenly rushed out with a loud roar. Meow! The tabby cat was startled, darting several meters away with a whoosh, then turned to stare at Gu Qijue. Gu Qijue ignored it, found a snakeskin bag to wrap his right hand, and slowly walked towards the black mamba, whose body was weakly writhing. Its dark eyes filled with unwillingness. Gu Qijue was very cautious. He picked up a wooden stick, poked the snake from half a meter away, and only after confirming it had no strength left did he confidently reach out and grasp its head. After grabbing the black mamba, Gu Qijue was still not reassured, so he flicked its head again to further weaken it. Then, he pulled out his phone to check the time. 16:59. Phew, good thing I made it. Gu Qijue let out a sigh of relief, looking at the dazed black mamba in his hand as if it were a beautiful future. He wasn't afraid of failure. It was nothing more than death. In the aberration apocalypse, living as an ordinary person was more terrifying than death. Meow! The tabby cat hadn't left yet, glaring resentfully at Gu Qijue from a distance. If not for this bipedal beast, it would already be eating its spicy strip. But Gu Qijue knew it absolutely couldn't eat it, because it was already 59 minutes and 20 seconds, the aurora was about to arrive. At that time, if the black mamba mutated, how could it eat it? Gu Qijue's heart pounded. He had to swallow the foot-long black mamba in his hand in the last 20 seconds or so. As the time reached 59 minutes and 30 seconds, Gu Qijue flicked the black mamba's head a few more times, then took a deep breath. As the countdown reached 20 seconds, seeing the sky's color begin to brighten, Gu Qijue knew the aurora had descended into the atmosphere. He immediately opened his mouth and swallowed the snake. New book starting, please collect, please keep reading, please vote for recommendations. Monthly tickets, to The Apocalyptic World of Distortion has begun. Gulp, gulp, to Gu Qijue, who had eaten raw rats in his previous life. Swallowing this snake alive now, apart from the intense urge to vomit and some discomfort, was nothing to fear. Because the horrors he had experienced made swallowing a venomous snake like this seem trivial by comparison. As he swallowed it, Gu Qijue could clearly sense the black mamba beginning to struggle frantically, thrashing continuously within his stomach and intestines. Gu Qijue suppressed the discomfort, swallowing it down bite after bite. Even after swallowing the entire snake, he could still feel the black mamba struggling desperately inside his stomach and intestines. But at that very moment, a dazzling and blinding aurora silently swept over. Simultaneously, in that very instant, a loud boom sounded inside Gu Qijue's body. The struggling black mamba seemed to transform into a fiery snake, appearing to ignite within Gu Qijue's body. Ah, the unbearable burning sensation caused Gu Qijue to scream in agony. As he screamed, he didn't even realize that his genes were undergoing a frantic mutation at that very moment. After a few seconds, Gu Qijue's eyes became bloodshot, and he suddenly let out a long howl toward the sky. At this moment, black dragon scales erupted all over his body, and his head of black hair visibly turned white in an instant. Ah, Gu Qijue rolled on the ground, the indescribable agony throughout his body making him feel faint. The blood inside him seemed to ignite, and his bones appeared to be cracking and then healing. One by one, his heart pounded rapidly. He could feel the entire black mamba undergoing fusion with him. After an unknown period, 2 black dragons burst forth from Gu Qijue's spine, splattering blood momentarily. But the wounds quickly healed. Dragon horns sprouted on his head, and the black dragon scales covering his body gradually integrated into his skin and flesh, leaving behind faint, dark dragon markings. His entire set of teeth became extremely sharp, and he even grew 2 dragon fangs. Once the dragon fangs had grown, the dragon horns on his head began to merge back into his skull. Immediately afterward, a black dragon tail visibly grew from his coccyx. After the dragon tail finished growing, the 2 ferocious black dragons on his back also merged into his spine. A few seconds later, a black dragon tattoo gradually appeared on Gu Qijue's chest. When the lifelike black dragon tattoo was fully formed, the dragon tail behind him also fused back into his body. Roar, feeling the explosive power within his body and wave after wave of legacy memories in his mind, Gu Qijue let out a roar toward the sky. His top had burst open, revealing perfect muscle definition seemingly filled with unparalleled power, and the black dragon tattoo on his chest looked like a living creature. Ha ha ha, I succeeded. Gu Qijue felt the mighty, overwhelming power inside him and digested the legacy memories in his mind, laughing excitedly toward the sky. Now his hair was white as snow, his pupils had turned blood red, a black dragon marking appeared on his brow, and the 2 dragon fangs reverted to ordinary teeth under his control. He was already extremely handsome, but after the fusion and evolution with the Black Mamba, his snow-white hair added a touch of malevolence and ferocity. Master, suddenly a slightly immature voice echoed in Gu Qijue's mind. Hearing the voice, Gu Qijue paused slightly. Master, I am the Black Mamba you swallowed. The immature voice, full of complicated emotions, said, Master, you are actually a rebirth cultivator. Your memories of your previous life are insane. I was that powerful. No wonder you risked everything to swallow me. With 2 puffs, the twin dragons on Gu Qijue's back extended, their ferocious heads reaching in front of him, speaking in an innocent tone. Gu Qijue was surprised upon hearing this. You can see my memories? Looking at it, Gu Qijue was surprised to find that although the 2 black dragons had their own thoughts, they were like a part of his body, and he could take control at any time. The Black Mamba replied, Master, we are one now, inseparable. But the control of the body belongs to you. I'm truly sorry. Gu Qijue didn't know what to say. It's all right. Master, we are certainly capable of becoming stronger than in your previous life now. The Black Mamba's voice was very immature. After seeing Gu Qijue's memories of his previous life and knowing how much he had suffered, it didn't blame him for swallowing it. But that was only part of the reason. More importantly, it was originally in its infancy, and during the process of fusion, it was guided by a mysterious force to regard Gu Qijue as a father figure. Good, from now on. Your name is Xiao Yao, the overlord of this era belongs to none other than us. Gu Qijue stroked Xiao Yao's dragon head and said with great satisfaction, Roar, suddenly. A roar came from afar. Gu Qijue looked up. He saw that the tabby cat that had previously tormented the Black Mamba had now aberrated into a monstrous creature the size of a bull, with wings, 3 heads, and fur like steel needles. Master, kill it! Xiao Yao let out a roar, glaring hatefully at the cat monster. Roar, but the cat monster lunged toward Gu Qijue first. Its ferocity soared to the heavens, and its roar shook the mountain forest. You're courting death? A flash of malice crossed Gu Qijue's eyes. With a boom, he stomped the ground beneath him, his hands transforming into indestructible, sharp dragon claws as he shot forward like a cannonball. His speed was incredible. He appeared instantly before the cat monster and tore it into 2 halves in a single move. Just as the boiling hot blood was about to splatter, Gu Qijue easily dodged it. Too strong. Gu Qijue retracted his dragon claws and said, Xiao Yao, eat it? But without waiting for him to speak, the twin dragons, controlled by Xiao Yao, had already appeared before the 2 halves of the cat monster's corpse and began devouring it with their massive, bloody mouths. As Xiao Yao consumed the cat monster's flesh and blood, Gu Qijue could clearly feel streams of heat rising within his body, and his dragon cells were more active than ever before. Sure enough, I can't cultivate by absorbing sunlight, I must consume powerful flesh and blood. Feeling the changes within his body, Gu Qijue thought to himself, after a super martial artist undergoes awakening, they can absorb stellar light to cultivate. Gu Qijue did not belong to the super martial warrior class, so he didn't feel that the sunlight now was any different from before. Before long, Xiao Yao finished eating and said, Master, let's go kill someone. In your previous life, wasn't there a grasshopper at school who treated you like livestock? Let's go kill him now. Gu Qijue's memories were its memories, and Xiao Yao clearly knew how much its master hated that grasshopper. That's exactly what I intended. Return to my body first. Gu Qijue revealed a cruel smile. The cause of the past life yields the fruit of this life. I'm going to tear him limb from limb. After Xiao Yao returned to his body, Gu Qijue quickly descended the mountain. The person he intended to kill, speaking of him, had quite the background. He attended the same school as Gu Qijue, was the son of a trillion-dollar conglomerate's chairman, and his grandfather was a major figure in a certain military region. 3. In the apocalypse, no one talks to you about humanity. Although the mysterious aurora swept across the globe, large-scale mutation will not appear temporarily within 3 hours. Gu Qijue, who had the experience of his previous life, knew that mutation had a process, and large-scale mutated creatures would only appear after about 2 to 3 hours. The reason the tabby cat he just killed mutated so quickly was largely because Gu Qijue accelerated its mutation speed during the fusion of the Black Mamba. Therefore, the current star blue continent is still relatively peaceful. Currently, it is 5:25 p.m. Gu Qijue walked out of the school's back mountain. Bare-chested, the August sun was still emitting a blazing light. On his way back to school, Gu Qijue could hear many people discussing the aurora that had just swept past their eyes. This is the calm of the last 2 or 3 hours. Cherish it well. Gu Qijue sneered coldly in his heart. When he arrived at the school gate, there were many students coming and going because classes had ended. Boys and girls, grouped in 2s and 3s, Gu Qijue did not enter the school but waited outside, waiting for Lin Xian to come out. As far as he knew, Lin Xian would take a group of second-generation rich kids out for dinner around 5:30. It was now 5:27. As he waited at the school gate, his full head of white hair, bare upper body, and black dragon tattoo carved on his chest immediately made him a unique sight. Strange gazes swept over him, coming from both men and women, followed by various whispers. Look, look, in a few hours. You'll all be crying. Gu Qijue showed a cold smile, bought a pack of cigarettes at the small store near the school gate, opened the package, took one out, and lit it. Master, I can sense that the genes inside these students are beginning to change. Xiao Yao's voice rang out at this moment. Gu Qijue nodded. That's normal. In a little over an hour, people, animals, plants, and others will gradually mutate completely, and then there will be more and more. The mutation of 70% of the world's living beings is completely random, and by then, the major war zones will also be unable to cope. Before long, Gu Qijue finally saw the target of this hunt. It was a handsome man of 18 or 19, not wearing a school uniform, but a white suit. Several dissolute second-generation rich kids surrounded him, walking out of the school while chatting and laughing. Lin Xian, seeing this person, Gu Qijue couldn't help but recall the scene from his previous life, where these second-generation rich kids, in order to escape, drove him out to attract the monsters, causing him to lose 3 fingers and nearly die a violent death. A trace of cruelty flashed across Gu Qijue's face, and he quickly walked toward them. Who are you? A good dog doesn't block the way. A dissolute second-generation rich kid saw him approaching without any intention of moving aside and coldly shouted at him. Non-mainstream? Lin Xian glanced at Gu Qijue and sneered. Get lost? Gu Qijue said nothing, stepped in front of him, grabbed his neck with his left hand while the latter was stunned, and immediately dislocated his right arm. Accompanied by a pig-slaughtering scream, everyone present was dumbfounded with fear. Holy crap! The 3 dissolute second-generation rich kids behind Lin Xian turned pale with fright at this sight and quickly stumbled backward. As second-generation rich kids, they had never seen such a scene. Their legs had turned to jelly from fright. Ah, save me, quickly call an ambulance. Lin Xian's face was ashen. He instinctively let out a roar, then fainted. The students leaving school for dinner, especially the girls, were so scared they let out piercing screams. Gu Qijue completely ignored them, and with a poof, he dislocated Lin Xian's other arm. The biting pain jolted him awake from his unconscious state. Who are you? What grudge do we have? Do you know who I am? And who my grandfather is? How dare you treat me like this? Lin Xian, desperate, terrified, and helpless, whose brain hadn't fully registered what was happening, screamed hoarsely. His eyes bloodshot. Hurry up and stop this maniac. Why are you boys still standing there staring blankly? Many girls screamed, urging the boys present to step forward and stop him. Shit, why don't you go, damn it? Someone who can single-handedly dislocate a person's arm could slap you bleeding heart bitches to death. A boy immediately retorted angrily. Not only did they not go up to help, but they retreated even further. Bang! Gu Qijue ignored the horrified gazes and screams around him, casually threw Lin Xian onto the ground and said coldly, no matter who you are. Today I will cripple all 4 of your limbs. Crack. After speaking coldly, Gu Qijue stomped and crushed one of Lin Xian's knees, who was screaming like a pig being slaughtered. Stop! Just as Gu Qijue was about to crush Lin Xian's other knee, two school security guards finally rushed over, greatly alarmed, holding electric batons. Ready to take down the maniac. Do you know what happens to busybodies? Gu Qijue's terrifying murderous aura erupted, and his cold gaze fiercely locked onto the two security guards. You! The two security guards were chilled to the bone by his gaze, and their charging steps came to an abrupt halt. In the instant they paused, Gu Qijue lifted his foot and stomped down. Lin Xian let out a hoarse scream, then rolled his eyes and completely passed out. So satisfying! The pleasure of personally torturing and killing an enemy made Gu Qijue reveal a twisted smile. To survive 8 long years in the mutated apocalypse without awakening a super martial talent. His ruthlessness and dark side had been ingrained into his very bones. Hiss! Gu Qijue's twisted behavior made the surrounding students shudder. Take him down! One security guard gritted his teeth and rushed forward, swinging his electric baton. You're going to die anyway, dying 2 hours earlier is still death. A look of viciousness flashed across Gu Qijue's face. He grabbed the electrified baton with one hand, then punched the guard's chest. The entire chest caved in, and the clothes on his back even ripped open, sending him flying more than 10 meters like a kite with a broken string. He fell to the ground, chi extinguished and life gone. If Gu Qijue didn't kill this security guard now, he would also turn into a monster 2 hours later. This could be considered indirectly eliminating a monster, but this was also the apocalypse. Humanity and morality are worthless in the face of food. He killed someone. The surrounding students saw this scene and retreated backward in horror. Some called the Law Enforcement Bureau, and others called the ambulance. Gu Qijue ignored these people and crushed Lin Xian's neck with a stomp. Disperse! Only a few of you present here will survive in an hour or so. There's no need to worry about this kind of thing. Having personally killed his enemy from his previous life, Gu Qijue felt completely relaxed and his thoughts were clear. He left a cold remark, turned, and quickly departed. No one dared to block his path, they all made way for him. Leaving the crowd, Gu Qijue disappeared from sight after a few sprints. He was naturally solitary, having only completed 1 semester of his freshman year, and had no close friends. New book seedling, please collect, keep reading, vote for recommendations for The Real Catastrophe has arrived. Evening. 6:30 p.m., emergency news. After the mysterious aurora swept across the star-blue continent, many terrifying mutated monsters have appeared in major regions across the country. This is likely a result of the aurora's influence, causing mutations in creatures with special physiques. We urge the general public to close their doors and windows and under no circumstances go outside. Do not go outside. As time passed, mutated monsters continued to appear. The Qianlong Empire quickly reacted, immediately issuing the most urgent news. This news from the Qianlong Empire immediately swept across major online platforms. If the aurora hadn't appeared before, people would never have believed it, but even so, they were still half skeptical. But as people around them began to mutate into monsters, various videos were uploaded to online platforms. Is the apocalypse coming? Supplies when the apocalypse comes. Supplies are the most important. There's still time, hurry and stock up on supplies. Damn it, the apocalypse is really here. I saw my dad mutate into a monster with my own eyes. I'm hiding under the bed now, not daring to make a sound. What should I do? The 1.4 billion people of the Qianlong Empire, all panicked. Supermarkets were packed with people frantically snatching up all kinds of grains, frozen foods, and more. In major cities across the country, people's panicked and desperate shouts could be heard everywhere. From time to time, ferocious monsters could be seen roaring and chasing humans. Various screams and roars echoed through one bustling city after another. Some people who were fleeing for their lives suddenly foamed at the mouth. Then their entire heads split open, growing a blood-red maw incredibly hideous, a head without eyes. Because as its head mutated, its body also swelled, tentacles grew from its back, eyes grew on its chest, and its entire body became covered in a layer of eerie scales. The moment this mutated person completed their transformation, the tentacles on their back suddenly extended and wrapped around their former companions. Amidst their heart-wrenching screams, the head, now covered in tentacles and fangs like a chrysanthemum, devoured them bite by bite. This terrifying scene unfolded in every city, on every street across the country. Even some trees, whose branches and leaves instantly withered and yellowed, then grew out one terrifying, eye-covered tentacle after another, directly wrapping around and devouring any passing humans. The true cataclysm has arrived. Tusk, this is hell. It was truly not easy for me to survive 8 years in my previous life. In the chairman's office of the Huangshan Group building, Gu Qijue looked down at the entire city from the 100th floor through the massive floor-to-ceiling windows. He saw that the streets and residential areas were filled with all kinds of disgusting and hideous monsters, whether mutated humans, mutated animals, or mutated plants chasing after groups of humans. Inside the office, there were 4 monster corpses. In Gu Qijue's hand was a katana. This blade was no ordinary item. It was custom-made by the chairman of the Huangshan Group with a hefty sum. During a live demonstration, no matter how much force was applied to cut iron, the katana's edge would not dull, remaining sharp enough to slice hair like mud. Gu Qijue came here naturally. For this katana, the monsters were too disgusting. He simply couldn't bring himself to fight them barehanded, although he had the ability. "Master, should we first grab some supplies? Or should we go deal with the Monkey King in the city's zoo first?" Xiao Yao's voice echoed in Gu Qijue's mind. Ah! Just then, a woman's scream came from outside the door. Then, a woman dressed in a professional OL suit, with a perfect face and figure, screamed and ran into the office, fumbling to slam the door shut with a bang. After doing all this, she collapsed to the floor, her voluptuous body trembling slightly, her face filled with despair. "Ah, you are?" At this moment, she noticed that there was a stranger in the chairman's office. She also saw the 4 monster corpses here. Gu Qijue glanced indifferently at the woman, then stepped towards the door. Seeing this, the woman scrambled to the side, looking at him with terror. In her heart, she secretly thought, "Can I use this person to lure away the monsters outside? Then enter the elevator and go to the underground warehouse?" On her way here, she had already betrayed several companions. Now, seeing someone here, she immediately had malicious thoughts. With her looks, what man wouldn't be captivated? Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly, outside the office door, heavy blows slammed against it, and roars could be heard coming in, which made the woman's legs go weak with extreme fear. Gu Qijue ignored the woman beside him, walked to the door, and was about to open it. "No," the woman cried out with a mournful face. Click, but Gu Qijue had already opened the door. "It's over." The woman, who had just stood up, collapsed to the floor again. Roar, howl, immediately. 2 insect-like mutated monsters, brandishing sharp claws, pounced in. Whoosh! Gu Qijue's katana flashed out of its sheath, along with a cold gleam and 2 streaks of blood. The heads of the 2 monsters instantly separated from their bodies, blood gushing out. The woman was stunned by the sight, then a light of hope burst in her eyes. She scrambled to her feet and ran to Gu Qijue, saying, "Please, take me with you. What are you?" Gu Qijue coldly glanced at the woman, scoffed, and walked away. "No, I'll exchange my body, please. Will you take me with you?" The woman rushed to Gu Qijue and began to take off her clothes, revealing her fair flesh. Scram! In this apocalypse, women are the least valuable, let alone a used-up tramp like you. Gu Qijue didn't even spare the woman a glance, blocking her outside the elevator and pressing the button for the first floor. "Bastard! Leaving me to die? I curse you to die a terrible death," the woman screamed in despair. As the elevator doors closed, what she saw was an utterly indifferent face. Every floor of the Huangshan building had monsters, and also survivors. Gu Qijue ignored them all. Human hearts in the apocalypse are the darkest. If you save someone, they might not necessarily be grateful. They might even stab you in the back. Gu Qijue had seen too much of this during his 8 years in the previous life. The elevator reached the first floor, and as the doors slowly opened, 4 monsters immediately came into view. Seeing someone in the elevator, they let out excited roars and pounced. Puff, puff, puff. Gu Qijue stepped forward, dispatching them one by one with his katana effortlessly, as if slicing watermelons. However, he knew these were the weakest mutated monsters, so he didn't let Xiao Yao out to waste time devouring them. It was almost 8 p.m. now. In the night sky, 2 moons hung together, one bright, clear moon and one large, gray moon. "Master, where are we going?" Xiao Yao asked. "To subdue an underground gang. A single person's strength is ultimately limited. The gang I intend to subdue has 6 or 7 super martial warriors." Gu Qijue walked out of the Huangshan building, looked up at the 2 moons in the sky, casually cut down 3 pouncing monsters, and disappeared into the night in a few flashes. 5. Oh, you want to kill me? An era akin to hell on earth had arrived. Although the monsters of the apocalypse were terrifying, human hearts were equally filthy. Food, women, power. Survival, ambition. It was like a furnace of desire. Gu Qijue walked in the darkness. At this stage, he had yet to see any super martial warrior. That was because super martial warriors awoke several hours later than the mutated monsters. It was perfectly normal not to see them now. Poof, on a street, Gu Qijue chopped down a mutated stray dog the size of an elephant. its body covered in mouths. The twin dragons on his back immediately rushed forward to feast. Gu Qijue was surprised to discover. As Xiao Yao devoured the corpses of the mutated monsters, his somewhat empty stomach gradually filled up. If Xiao Yao devouring mutated monsters is equivalent to me eating them, wouldn't all the mutated monsters in the world become my food? Gu Qijue showed a look of unexpected delight. I might not be considered human anymore. Ever since Gu Qijue released the twin dragons on his back, even passing mutated monsters dared not attack him. Upon seeing him, they instead fled for their lives. Shaking his head, he wasn't bothered about whether he was still human or not, as long as he could survive. What did it matter if he turned into a monster? However, although his hunger had vanished, he still felt thirsty. Just as Gu Qijue was about to look for some water to drink, suddenly, a burst of intensive gunfire echoed from a distant street. In the night, Gu Qijue vanished from the alley in a few steps. Heading toward the source of the gunfire, what he saw was a super large supermarket. Outside the supermarket entrance, 20 or 30 fully armed soldiers were frantically firing at the endless swarm of mutated monsters sweeping in from all directions. The sounds of gunfire and monster roars merged into one cacophony. Open fire! Don't you damn cowards dare be afraid! Don't waste bullets. Aim for their heads, clear out these monsters, then close the supermarket's iron door and wait for the main force to rescue us. Captain, we can't hold out, we're almost out of bullets. If that happens, not only will we be wiped out, but the 100+ survivors inside the supermarket will be finished too. Facing such a massive, seemingly inexhaustible number of mutated monsters, some of which even required dozens of shots to kill, the soldiers began to panic. Suddenly, a sharp tentacle shot out from the darkness, piercing 3 or 4 soldiers consecutively before dragging them away all at once. Damn it, there's a more powerful mutated monster hidden in the dark. The captain's face darkened. He threw 2 hand grenades toward the darkness, then fired frantically. Inside the supermarket, over 100 survivors huddled together, trembling as they listened to the gunfire and the monsters' roars outside. In his previous life, Gu Qijue was one of them, but he hadn't been lucky enough to encounter the army. Ooh, roar, roar, just as this team of 20 to 30 Empire soldiers was about to run out of ammunition. The monsters surrounding them suddenly stopped charging, scattered noisily, and all looked toward a spot in the darkness. What's going on? Could a more terrifying monster be about to attack us? Seeing this, the soldiers felt their scalps tingle as they stared at the darkness, their muzzles aimed remotely. Then, they saw hundreds of monsters simultaneously clear a path. This put the soldiers on high alert, and their gun-holding hands trembled slightly. They were not regular army troops, they hadn't undergone much special training, so their psychological resilience was naturally not very strong. Any presence that could command so many monsters to clear a path upon its appearance was undoubtedly a powerful boss among monsters. However, moments later, they were stunned, because what entered their view was not a monster. Instead, it was a person with blood-red eyes and white hair, bare-chested, possessing a normal human body but with 2 fierce black dragons on his back. Wherever he passed, no mutated monster dared to attack him. Is this a humanoid monster? The captain aimed his gun at Gu Qijue and roared. Are you human or a monster? Both human and monster. I won't harm you, I'm just here to ask for a drink of water. Gu Qijue no longer knew if he was human or monster. He stepped past the swarm of monsters and walked toward the supermarket, after devouring so many mutated monsters. And with the body of a dragon, bullets could no longer penetrate him. Therefore, facing 20 or 30 gun muzzles, he acted as if he didn't see them. If they dared to shoot him, Gu Qijue would slaughter them in an instant. Captain, he seems to be that maniac who killed a security guard and young Master Lin outside the school gate before the mutation. At this moment, a soldier whispered into the captain's ear. What, it's him? In that case, this person is indeed not a monster. The captain was both surprised and delighted. He signaled everyone to lower their weapons, stepped forward, and smiled. What is your name? Young brother, I am Wu Rui, the captain of this squad. Don't bother with formalities. The only reason I'm here is to grab a bottle of water. Gu Qijue glanced indifferently at the soldiers and walked straight toward the supermarket. Xiao Yao devouring mutated monsters could fill his stomach, but it seemed to make him extremely thirsty. This was quite a big problem. Young man, we are here to rescue an important figure, you? Captain Wu Rui followed behind Gu Qijue. Speaking haltingly, what does that have to do with me? I'll take a bottle of water and leave. Gu Qijue sneered and said coldly, entering the supermarket. He saw over 100 survivors staring at him with looks of terror. Gu Qijue ignored them, went to the freezer, took out a bottle of mineral water, unscrewed the cap, and gulped it down in a few mouthfuls. Gu Qijue frowned after one bottle. He wasn't quenched at all. What was going on? He successively took out several more bottles and drank them. Only after more than 20 bottles did Gu Qijue finally feel somewhat satisfied. Monster. The soldiers and survivors present all looked at him as if he were a monster. Gu Qijue only stopped after drinking until he was 7/10 full. Ha ha ha, I have awoken a powerful super martial armor. Just then, a burst of wild laughter erupted from among the survivors. Hearing the sound, everyone looked over. They saw a tall, thin man excitedly staring at the blue 9-pointed star pattern forming in his palm. Deep blue armor. Possess me, he let out a loud laugh, and instantly a set of deep blue armor covered his entire body in the blink of an eye. Super martial armor. What's happening? Everyone watched, their faces filled with shock and confusion. You neither human nor ghost monster. Kneel down and submit to execution. The man possessed by the super martial armor stared coldly straight at Gu Qijue. Oh, you want to kill me? Gu Qijue cast a playful, cold gaze, wickedly licked his lips, and revealed a hint of cruelty. He truly hadn't expected a mere newly awoken super martial warrior to dare provoke him. New book, please collect, please follow along, please give recommendation votes. Monthly votes. 6. Massacre, Black Dragon Gang inside the supermarket. Gu Qijue finally saw the first super martial warrior, and he immediately tried to kill him. From the moment you walked in, I found you this monster and eyesore. All of you, step aside. Let me strike him down. The man wearing deep sea armor flicked his hand, and a light sword appeared in his palm. This was the super martial armor. Not only were its strength and defense incomparable, but it could also summon weapons out of thin air. In his previous life, Gu Qijue couldn't express how much he envied these super martial warriors. He only felt that their super martial armor was incredibly cool. However, that was only in his previous life. The current him, despite appearing to be flesh and blood, was overwhelmingly powerful. You newborn calf. It seems you don't know what kind of existence you are facing. Gu Qijue stared playfully at the latter, his sinister blood-red eyes looking as if he were watching a dead man. If I turned into a monster like you, I would definitely kill myself. Die, the man in deep blue armor roared furiously, raising the light sword in his hand and slashing toward Gu Qijue with a boom. Die? Gu Qijue coldly spat out the word die. The twin dragons behind him let out a long cry and shot out across the sky like two streaks of black light. The left dragon bit the light sword, while the right dragon instantly opened its bloody maw and, with a crunching sound, bit the armored man's neck. In an instant, the light sword in the armored man's hand shattered, and his neck, covered by the biological armor, also cracked and broke with a crunch. Immediately, blood splattered, the armor on the latter's body dissipated, and his head separated from his body. Ah, this bloody sight terrified many women into screaming. Even Captain Wu Rui gasped sharply. I can be humanity's enemy. Or I cannot be. It is entirely up to humanity to decide. With a cold laugh, Gu Qijue turned and left. Wu Rui watched his retreating figure, wanting to speak, but ultimately just watched him leave. As soon as he exited the supermarket, they immediately closed the supermarket's iron door. Gu Qijue had, in a way, saved them. The monsters that had gathered outside the gate were now nowhere to be seen. This was because, in the eyes of these mutated monsters, Gu Qijue was a terrifyingly high-level life form of the same species. Where he appeared, no monster dared to act presumptuously. Unless they were mutated monsters that were also high-level life forms, they all evolved by devouring each other. Gu Qijue walked out of the supermarket and looked toward a dark shadow. Suddenly, a behemoth slowly walked out from the dark shadow. It was a terrifying monster 10 feet tall, with black tentacles covering its back, 9 claws, 6 legs, and eyes growing on its abdomen. Jai jai jai, the monster let out a sharp laugh. Its long, narrow tongue licked its disgusting lips, and the way it looked at Gu Qijue was like staring at a delicious dish on a hidden table. With a fierce roar, the dozens of sharp, scaled tentacles on its back shot toward Gu Qijue with bullet-like speed. Gu Qijue gave an evil smile. With a boom, the floor beneath his feet exploded and he vanished from the spot. Whoosh! When he reappeared, he was already close to the tentacle monster. The greatsword in his hand was drawn with a clang, and the blade was coated with ferocious black dragon power. With a tearing sound, the sword light was like a shadow, and the monster's entire massive body was instantly sliced in half by Gu Qijue's single strike. Xiao Yao excitedly jumped up to feast greedily. As Xiao Yao devoured it bite by bite, Gu Qijue could also feel the increase in power brought by the hot current within his body. After devouring the monster's flesh and blood, Gu Qijue's figure quickly disappeared into the dark night. Ha ha ha, boss, look who I brought back. Cloud City's largest underground gang was located in this underground boxing ring. At this moment, a burly, tall, and sturdy man wearing earthy yellow armor returned, carrying a beautiful and graceful woman of 18 or 19 over his shoulder. Yo, second brother, not bad. You actually kidnapped Gu Baixuan's daughter. A bald, tattooed strong man who was drunk at the counter saw this, flashed a lewd smile and said, "That bastard Gu Baixuan has oppressed us for so many years. It's time to teach him a lesson." The Gu Baixuan mentioned by this man was the richest man in Cloud City. Wielding immense power, their Black Dragon gang had always lived under his oppression. Haha, congratulations, boss, on acquiring a sister-in-law. This apocalypse came at the perfect time. This is the era we longed for. Those guys who acted willfully because they were rich should all be chopped up. Boss, just marry this chick directly. Then send Gu Baixuan the video of your wedding night. Ha ha ha. The three thugs present, who had also undergone super martial awakening, laughed excitedly. Do you really think I'm easy to bully? Just then, Chu Mengxi, who was being carried by the Black Dragon gang's second brother, had a face covered in icy frost. She shouted, "Super martial armor, ice and snow, body integration." In an instant, she was covered in a set of silver-white ice and snow armor. You have super martial armor too? The Black Dragon gang's second brother was greatly shocked. He suddenly exerted force with both arms and flung her away. Chu Mengxi flipped several times in the air and landed steadily on the ground. This is bad. Boss, outside. A humanoid monster has killed its way in. Third gang leader was instantly killed by a single blow. Just then, a Black Dragon gang subordinate rushed in from outside the gate, speaking with a face full of terror. Bang! Just as the subordinate entered, a blood-soaked, scar-faced man was thrown in from outside the gate like a cannonball. Who? The Black Dragon gang leader's expression changed, and a set of black tiger armor instantly covered his entire body. At the same time, the several gang leaders present also activated the super runes in their palms, performing body integration with their armor, and stared intently at the door. What met their eyes was an evil, unrestrained man with white hair and blood-red eyes, ferocious twin dragons growing from his back, and his entire body radiating intimidating malevolence. Gu Qijue strode in, scanned the people present, and his gaze fell upon the water dispenser not far away. He walked straight toward it, seemingly ignoring the people in armor performing body integration. He reached the water dispenser, picked up the water jug directly, tilted his head back, and gulped down the water furiously. The reason he was so thirsty was due to the hot current generated when Xiao Yao devoured mutated creatures. While evolving, it absorbed a large amount of water from his body. After Gu Qijue had drunk his fill, he dropped the water jug, looked at the super martial warriors present, and beckoned them with a finger. Come at me all at once. If you lose, you only need to become my servant. Remember, a servant, not a subordinate. Arrogant, the Black Dragon gang boss said in a deep voice. Are you a human or a monster? It's you. Chu Mengxi recognized Gu Qijue earlier this evening at the school gate. She had personally witnessed this man kill Lin Xian and beat a security guard to death. Why waste so much breath talking to this monster? Kill it! The fourth gang leader roared, summoned his armor's light blade, and charged forward with a boom. Please give me monthly votes and recommendation votes. Thank you. 7. This is the end times. Life is worthless. Gu Qijue stared at the fourth leader of the Black Dragon gang, who was fiercely charging at him. Although his speed was incredibly fast, almost reaching him in the blink of an eye. However, in Gu Qijue's eyes, he was as slow as a snail. He didn't dodge, but instead directly raised his hand, grabbing the light blade that the fourth leader was slashing down with a bang. Then fiercely kicked out. Bang! Crack! The terrifying force of Gu Qijue's kick caused the armor on the fourth leader of the Black Dragon gang to explode. He then flew backward like a cannonball, slamming heavily into the wall and dying instantly. Dead, my apologies, I didn't control my strength well, feeling that the fourth leader had lost his life. Gu Qijue crushed the light blade in his hand with his bare hands. He looked at the others and said, What about you? Do you also want to experience my strength? The Black Dragon gang leader, fifth leader, sixth leader, and Chu Mengxi all looked at Gu Qijue with apprehension. What exactly do you want to do? The Black Dragon gang leader's voice trembled slightly. To be able to instantly kill his fourth brother so easily. Even all of them combined probably wouldn't last a single exchange against this man. Didn't I just say, be my subordinates? Gu Qijue stretched lazily and said indifferently, "My patience is limited, make a decision within a minute." Why did he want to subdue the Black Dragon gang? The reason was simple. He needed to go out and hunt mutated creatures to devour, but he needed water. He definitely needed people under him to collect purified water for him. Otherwise, he wouldn't bother with this trouble. He would have already gone to the largest zoo in Cloud City and killed that monkey king to devour it. What benefits are there? The Black Dragon gang leader Zhao who asked in a low voice. Gu Qijue walked directly to a sofa and sat down, took out a cigarette pack, lit one, and said indifferently, "Become my subordinates and from now on, I will protect you. All you need to do is collect purified water for me." "Good, my Black Dragon gang is willing to serve you." Zhao Hu knew he had no retreat. He bowed deeply to Gu Qijue, along with Old Fifth and Old Sixth. "Very good, and you?" Gu Qijue's gaze fell on Chu Mengxi. A beautiful silver-white armor covered her graceful, curvaceous body, outlining perfect contours. Chu Mengxi shook her head and said, "I was tied up and brought here by them. I am not a member of their Black Dragon gang." Gu Qijue glanced at her and said coldly, "No matter who you are, since you are here and you are a super martial warrior, you can only become my subordinate." If she wasn't a super martial warrior, Gu Qijue wouldn't have given her a second look. Chu Mengxi felt a bitter taste. She had no doubt that if she refused, her fate would be miserable. "You what?" Gu Qijue raised his head slightly, staring at her coldly. "I agree." Chu Mengxi reluctantly uttered 2 words. "Very good if you dare to run away. I promise I will find you no matter where you go and then devour you alive." As Gu Qijue spoke, the ferocious twin dragons on his back let out a savage roar. In his previous life, he lived under the dominator of others for 6 out of 8 years. Now, to dominator the lives and deaths of others, it was truly wonderful and inexpressibly satisfying. Chu Mengxi felt that his words were directed at her, and immediately stated, "I wouldn't dare, master. I need to go home now, I beg for your permission." She was worried about her family, now that she had awakened as a super martial warrior. She definitely had to go back and check on them. "Granted, this will be our base from now on. As long as you can collect enough purified water, I will not interfere with your freedom. If you encounter danger, you can contact me at any time." Gu Qijue took a deep puff of his cigarette and said lightly, "If you have the ability, you can bring in more super martial warriors. In this apocalypse with an invincible master like me, there is strength in numbers." "Yes, I'll go home first then," Chu Mengxi said and left without looking back. "Master, I have a feeling she won't be coming back." After Chu Mengxi left, Zhao Hu stepped forward and said this. "Those who want to die cannot be stopped." Gu Qijue extinguished the cigarette butt in his hand and said indifferently, "That's true." Zhao Hu was full of deference and whispered, "Master, your current state, did you successfully resist the mutation? That's amazing. No one can resist mutation." Gu Qijue didn't waste words with him and said indifferently, "Prepare a room for me, I need to take a shower." He had been sweating all day and felt uncomfortable. Since the water hadn't been cut off yet, he should clean up properly. "Yes, master, follow me." Zhao Hu led the way and said, "Old Fifth, Old Sixth. Immediately gather the gang members and collect as much purified water as possible." "All right." Zhang Feng and Li Si left after burying their 3rd and 4th brothers. This was the apocalypse, life was cheap. The Black Dragon gang had over 100 members, but more than half had mutated. There were a total of 8 super martial warriors. Now 2 were dead, leaving 6, Zhao Hu, Li Si, Zhang Feng, Deng Tian, Wu Jiao, and Tang Huang. Deng Tian, Wu Jiao, and Tang Huang were still out looking for supplies and hadn't returned. Otherwise, another one might have died. By now, batches of super martial warriors were awakening, and after the Empire's army dealt with internal mutants, they also began large-scale operations to rescue survivors. Rumble, in the night sky of Cloud City, bomber planes could occasionally be seen tearing through the darkness, but they would also be ambushed by mutated insects and birds, and a slight carelessness could lead to a plane crash and death. Throughout Cloud City, fires blazed everywhere and the army's tanks, armored vehicles, and helicopters were all deployed. Many human super martial awakened joined the army to rescue survivors, and within the army, there were also awakened super martial warriors. Fighting between humans and mutated monsters could be seen everywhere in the city. Even super martial warriors would be in mortal danger if they encountered a true seed-level mutated beast. Mutated monsters also had levels: normal, disaster seed, true seed, variant seed, evil seed, calamity. Ordinary mutated monsters could be killed with firearms, but encountering a disaster seed was somewhat difficult. True seeds were even more terrifying. already possessing rudimentary intelligence and capable of commanding ordinary mutated creatures. Variant seed-level creatures could be said to be like lords among mutated creatures. Evil seed-level creatures were equivalent to kings among mutated creatures. When a king rages, millions fall, and the final calamity-level mutated creature, Black Mamba, was of this level. These were true overlords, having no natural enemies. Once a calamity-level mutated creature appeared, it was an extinction-level disaster for humanity. In Gu Qijue's previous life, a shelter with 1 million survivors was destroyed by a calamity-level mutated creature. Human super martial warriors suffered untold casualties before barely managing to repel it. Within the calamity level, there were also differences in strength. The black dragon formed by Gu Qijue's fusion with Black Mamba could be called the absolute overlord of the calamity level, a truly unparalleled existence with no natural enemies. Neither mutated creatures nor human super martial warriors could pose any threat to it. 8. New God Group. Gu Qijue twin moons hung in the sky. The night vast and boundless. All kinds of mutated monsters ran rampant across the nation's lands. Humans, animals, plants, insects, and others, nearly 70% had mutated. This terrifying proportion meant that 7 out of every 10 living beings had mutated. The Empire's army also suffered heavy losses. Some city war zones had even fallen and become the domain of mutated creatures. When facing mutated monsters, even common mutated creatures were not something ordinary people could handle. New God Group Tower. Boom, bang, roar, roar. Roar, over 10 super martial warriors were clearing out the mutated monsters, constantly assaulting them from all sides. The leading super martial warrior's super martial armor was actually the Touty armor. Wielding a heavy great halberd, he swept through the monster horde. Almost no mutated monster could withstand a single strike from him. Chairman, this can't go on, there are too many monsters, we can't kill them all. A woman wearing flame armor fought her way to the man in the Touty armor, fighting alongside him, and said, "Our brothers are running out of stamina, let's retreat to the underground shelter first." Sigh, Mengxi. Daddy could only wait for you until now. The man in the Touty armor sighed helplessly. The reason he came out to clear the monsters near the tower was specifically to wait for his daughter to return. Now it seemed his daughter had already died in a monster's mouth. Swoosh! Just as the man in the Touty armor was about to issue the retreat order, a woman wearing ice and snow armor suddenly burst forth from the darkness. She held an ice and snow bow, and each time she drew the string, she could fire several ice arrows. "Who are you all? Have you seen my father?" Gu Mengxi fought her way back with difficulty. Seeing over 10 super martial warriors battling monsters here, she joined them and shouted loudly. Since everyone was wearing super martial armor, they couldn't see what the others looked like, hence her question. Fighting her way back cautiously from the underground boxing ring, Gu Mengxi was somewhat exhausted. Everything she saw on the way back were various mutated monsters. "Haha, good Mengxi, you actually returned as a super martial warrior, retreat." Hearing this, the man in the Touty armor immediately issued the order to retreat. He covered the rear, being the last one to enter the tower. Just as the elevator door was about to close completely, he swooshed into the elevator. Inside the elevator, everyone removed their helmet. "Dad, how are Mom and little sister doing now?" Gu Mengxi was overjoyed to see her father unharmed and that he had awakened a super martial armor even stronger than hers. "They are all fine." Inside the underground shelter, Gu Qijue let out a small sigh of relief. He was a man who looked to be in his early 30s, with magnificent features that were handsome and aloof, giving off a powerful sense of high-status oppression. New God Group, valued at 500 billion, with Chairman Gu Qijue as a nationally renowned business magnate. An underground shelter capable of withstanding nuclear war was built beneath the group's tower. Not to mention a behemoth like the New God Tower. Even the bases of $100 billion group company towers generally had shelters. These tycoons cherished their lives and were constantly preparing for the arrival of nuclear war. Now, the nuclear war hadn't arrived, but the apocalypse had, which could be considered a blessing in disguise. The underground shelter of the New God Tower was constructed very lavishly, like a large underground research institute, enough to sustain thousands of people. "Sumu, go organize the shelter's supplies and see how long they will last for our group of over 100 people." After descending into the shelter, Gu Qijue instructed. "All right," the woman wearing the flame armor nodded and left. "Mengxi, come on. Let's go see your mother and sister." Gu Qijue then led his daughter toward the depths of the shelter. "Dad, I can't stay here for too long." Chu Mengxi briefly recounted her encounter with Gu Qijue. Oh, so a person like that exists, but since you're back, there's no need to worry about him. To dare to make my daughter a servant, he has guts. After listening, a hint of killing intent flashed in Chu Baixuan's deep eyes. That man is ruthless. If I don't go back, I'm afraid it might bring trouble here. Chu Mengxi frowned slightly. She didn't actually want to go back, but recalling the man's terror, she hesitated. Don't overthink it. Leave this matter for Daddy to resolve. Chu Baixuan patted her shoulder and said, to dare to make Chu Baixuan's daughter a servant, he deserves to die. Late at night, after rescuing many survivors, the Empire's army in Cloud City began to gradually retreat because their losses were too severe, and the super martial warriors had suffered heavy casualties, unable to withstand the pressure any longer. They truly had done their best and wanted to save more survivors. However, their ammunition was almost depleted, so they had no choice but to retreat first. The Cloud City war zone had truly done its utmost, facing such a large number of monsters. They found every step difficult. Only as time passed and more super martial artists awakened could larger-scale rescues be achieved. In his previous life, Gu Qijue could only survive inside a shelter established by super martial artists, living a life akin to livestock, and was never rescued. Underground boxing ring. Master, I feel we can't stay in the city for too long. Food will eventually run out, but the apocalypse won't disappear because of that. I know there's a military base in the western suburbs. Let's first grab some seeds, and then go attack that military base. Zhao Hu brought Gu Qijue a bucket of mineral water and said, the city has a dense population, which means more mutated monsters. It's not a place for long-term survival. He was definitely not the only one who thought this way. The apocalypse is long, but food is limited. Only self-sufficiency allows for long-term survival. Why should we leave? The left black dragon behind Gu Qijue picked up the water bucket and brought it to his mouth, gulping it down noisily. Currently, he wasn't wearing a shirt. Although he could retract the twin dragons on his back, letting them out would also tear his clothes. So there was no need to wear one. Isn't leaving better? Zhao Hu hesitated. Only idiots would leave. After mutated creatures die, the earth absorbs their blood and grows a fruit that, if consumed, can enhance your super tattoo. Gu Qijue stood up and said faintly, this kind of fruit is very important. It only exists for 12 hours. Once that time passes, they turn into variant-grade mutated monsters. So our super tattoos can still evolve, then we really can't leave. Hearing this, Zhao Hu's heart stirred and he said, this is also one of the resources we must fight for. Naturally, remember to mobilize everyone to look for water sources. When the time comes, I will secure enough mutated fruits for you. With that, Gu Qijue stood up and said, I should also go devour mutated creatures to evolve. You all go secure supplies. If that woman doesn't return tomorrow, she deserves to die. Please give me monthly votes, recommended votes. 9. White Fox, catastrophe-level Rat King in his previous life. Gu Qijue had fantasized countless times about walking outside without being attacked by mutated monsters. Now he had finally achieved it. In the Dark City, as he passed, ordinary and true seed-level monsters all scurried away in terror. Only aberrant-level mutated creatures dared to attack him. Pachai, on his way to the largest zoo in Cloud City, Gu Qijue consecutively killed 3 aberrant-level monsters outside a high school. Is that also a monster? How can it be so powerful? When he came just now, all the other monsters ran away like crazy. This guy is probably an even more terrifying mutated creature. Let's not act rashly. The super martial artists hiding in the school were all extremely shocked to witness Gu Qijue kill 3 aberrant creatures that could instantly kill them, with twin dragons growing from his back. Blood-red eyes, white hair, and the ability to make mutated monsters afraid, who would consider him human. While the twin dragons devoured the 3 aberrant creatures on the ground, Gu Qijue's gaze turned towards the high school. In his previous life, he vaguely remembered that there were a few extraordinary super martial artists in this high school, especially one named Jai Shang, whose awakened super martial armor was incredibly powerful. Jai Shang. Come out, Gu Qijue raised his voice a few octaves and spoke towards the school. Recruiting some powerful super martial artists was a very necessary matter. Although he, Gu Qijue, was very strong in the late stage, there were many powerful creatures in the ocean. While the black dragon feared no one in a one-on-one fight, if it was surrounded, it could only flee in a sorry state. Furthermore, Gu Qijue didn't know whether his potential after fusion with Xiao Yao had decreased or increased. Therefore, being able to recruit some powerful super martial artists was naturally for the best. Brother Jai. He's calling you. 3 people were hiding inside the entrance, the leader wearing a set of Asura armor. The other 2 wore a black crow armor and a firebird armor. Respectively, these 3 were the strongest in this high school. He knows me? Jai Shang, who had awakened the Asura super marshal, looked at the white-haired man outside the school gate. Hesitating for a moment, he called out your name directly. How could he not know you? The black crow armor said. It seems he's not a true mutated monster. Should we meet him? You guys wait here. I'll go meet him. Jai Shang thought for a moment, pushed the door open, and walked straight towards the school gate. He looked at the man with twin dragons on his back and asked loudly, "You know me? I've heard of you." Gu Qijue smiled slightly and said, "How about you bring the super martial artist from your school and follow me? You're not a super martial artist. So why are you so powerful?" Jai Shang didn't answer him immediately, but instead asked this question. Killing 3 mutated monsters, each capable of slaughtering him with just his flesh and blood, seemed too outrageous to him. These mutated monsters aren't super martial artists either, so why can they kill you? Gu Qijue smiled faintly. The Asura super martial you awakened is actually very strong, but it's only 1 star. These 3 aberrant creatures are already 2nd tier. Based on tiers, Gu Qijue should also be 2nd tier now. However, once he devoured that outstanding evil seed-level Monkey King, he would definitely advance to the 3rd tier. This, Jai Shang paused, then hesitated. You seem to know a lot. I can follow you, but there are 38 students and 21 awakened ones in the school. And so many monsters outside. What do you plan to do? There's food and drink in the school. What needs to be done? Gu Qijue said indifferently. I didn't tell you to leave, so you'll live here. If you're in trouble, I'll help you. Provided you all listen to me. All right, then can you tell me how to increase the star level of a super martial? Jai Shang looked deeply at Gu Qijue, realizing this person was far from simple. Gu Qijue said indifferently, there are 2 ways. First, wait until daytime and absorb sunlight. You'll know this tomorrow without me telling you. Second, consume mutated fruit. After all mutated creatures die, the earth will absorb their blood. When the sunlight shines on the earth, mutated trees will grow, and if you consume the mutated fruit from them, you can increase your super martial star level. I'm going to Cloud City's largest zoo. When I return, I'll take you to pick mutated fruit tomorrow. With that, Gu Qijue didn't linger. If he went too late, and that Monkey King advanced to the 3rd tier, it might become a bit troublesome. Watching his figure disappear into the night, Jai Shang's eyes flickered, and he muttered to himself, what kind of existence is he? All mutated creatures seem to be afraid of this person. As Gu Qijue left the area, the nearby mutated creatures began to approach again. He was simply the big boss of the apocalypse, both for humans and mutated creatures. Master, we can do well on our own. Why bother taking in so many people? Xiao Yao's puzzled voice sounded as they traveled towards the zoo. Xiao Yao, in the previous life. It was because you were too arrogant and looked down on all living beings that you were besieged by 5 overlords of the ocean. Although you killed 2, you nearly lost your life escaping. Gu Qijue said. The Asura super martial that Jai Shang awakened belongs to the Saint tier, corresponding to the calamity level. He is one of humanity's future pillars. Although he can't compare to you in the previous life, he is still a good helper. Ow! Suddenly, a mutated monster ahead blocked Gu Qijue's path. Other mutated monsters, seeing it, scattered like rabbits encountering a tiger. This mutated creature blocking the way wasn't really a monster, but a white fox larger than a water buffalo with 9 tails. Oh, evil seed level? Gu Qijue looked at the fox blocking the way not far off and smiled wickedly. It's you. White fox? Evil seed level mutated creatures possessed intelligence no less than humans and could even transform into various appearances. Gu Qijue naturally knew this white fox. In his previous life, it caused a great deal of trouble for human super martial artists, being extremely cunning. Moreover, in the middle stage of the apocalypse, it somehow evolved into a calamity-level entity. He hadn't expected to encounter it here. Screech, you vixen, where are you running? Be a good concubine to this king and I'll spare your life. Just then, a tall figure rapidly approached from the distant darkness. Gu Qijue looked up, his eyes narrowing slightly. It was actually the calamity-level Rat King. Although this guy was the weakest among the calamity level, it commanded hundreds of thousands, even millions of rats. However, it didn't have that many subordinates now. Squeak squeak, with the appearance of the Rat King, pairs of crimson eyes emerged from the darkness in all directions. Not running anymore. The Rat King, emerging from the darkness, was a bipedal, semi-humanoid figure over 10 feet tall, gnawing on a human arm clutched in its claws. 10. King of the Rat, is the dragon inherently lewd? Calamity-level entities are also divided into strong and weak, and it seems the Rat King, being a calamity level, belongs to the weakest batch, but it is still stronger than the evil spirit rank. Hundreds of mutated rats, drooling, surrounded Gu Qijue and the white fox. The Rat King entered while gnawing on a human arm. When it saw another creature that resembled both a human and a monster, it paused slightly, squinted at Gu Qijue, and asked, "Who are you?" From this being, which might be a monster or a human, it felt a suppression based on bloodline. "Big Brother Black Dragon, save me." The white fox in front of Gu Qijue, amidst a surge of light, transformed into a woman wearing a white fox fur dress, with silver hair down to her waist, breathtakingly beautiful and possessing 9 tails. In her view, Gu Qijue must be a fellow creature who evolved into a dragon to look like this. Therefore, she also transformed. "Brother, I advise you not to meddle. This seductive fox is mine." The Rat King squinted at Gu Qijue. "We won't interfere with each other's business, just leave. Leave, wouldn't it be a pity if I didn't devour you?" Gu Qijue licked his lips, revealing a bloodthirsty smile. At the same time, dragon horns grew on his head, a dragon tail grew from his tailbone, dragon scales appeared on the surface of his skin, and 2 sharp dragon fangs grew in his mouth. This Rat King was actually Tier 3. Gu Qijue, who was only Tier 2, had to adopt his strongest battle stance. Minions. Attack! The Rat King stopped wasting words and summoned its hundreds of rat subordinates to lead the charge. "Big Brother Black Dragon, leave these little rats to me. You go kill that Rat King. I'll follow you from now on." Fangs grew in the white fox's mouth, and her hands turned into sharp claws as she met the rat monsters rushing in from all directions. "Black Dragon King, is it worth fighting so hard just for a fox?" The Rat King said coldly. "Why so much nonsense? Come, let's fight." Bloodlight flashed in Gu Qijue's eyes, black chi emerged from his mouth, and with a boom he stomped and shattered the floor beneath him, charging forward. With a clang, the takai in his hand was unsheathed, and the blade was coated with violent black dragon power. "You're looking for death." The Rat King let out a long howl. Its face would not allow it to leave in such a disgraceful manner. Boom, bang, the dragon and the rat slammed into each other. The takai and the rat claws collided, producing the sound of metal hitting metal. Cold light flickered, and the saber chi was intimidating. In the first exchange, the Rat King was blasted back several meters, while Gu Qijue left 2 deep saber marks on its chest. Roar! The Rat King was furious and, refusing to admit defeat, roared and swung its twin claws, charging toward Gu Qijue again. Alas, even with the augmentation of dragon power, the weapon is still lacking. Gu Qijue sighed. If the weapon in his hand had been a super martial artist armor weapon, those 2 strikes just now would have inflicted deeper wounds on the Rat King. Not even a missile could necessarily break the Rat King's skin. The reason Gu Qijue was able to penetrate its defense was entirely due to the black dragon power attached to the blade. Bang, clang, boom, rumble, Gu Qijue possessed boundless strength, and his physical body was incomparably powerful. The takai in his hand could slash several times per second. Black saber chi crisscrossed in front of him, making him invincible. The charging Rat King was repeatedly forced back, and streaks of bloody gashes appeared on its massive body. The power of the dragon is tyrannical, vast, and majestic, representing invincibility. A mere rat, even if it was calamity level, even if it was 1 tier higher than Gu Qijue, was now being beaten into a state where it could only parry and couldn't counterattack. The twin dragons behind Gu Qijue would also occasionally raid, biting off chunk after chunk of the Rat King's flesh. "This guy is 1 tier lower than me. How is he so strong? Is this the dragon?" After just a short moment of confrontation, the Rat King, covered in wounds, felt fear deep in its heart and roared, preparing to flee. "Stay!" Gu Qijue let out a low shout, fully circulating the black dragon power within his body. He swung 5 times in a single second, and instantly, 5 streaks of violent saber light tore through the air and slashed toward the Rat King. "Damn it!" Feeling the fierce saber light whistling behind him, the Rat King cursed, turned around, and swung its claws to block. With several bangs, 2 of its claws were nearly severed. In that instant, Gu Qijue charged forward again with his takai, and with a puff, he slashed across the Rat King's chest, drawing a long line of blood. Roar! The Rat King roared in pain and anger. Its body swelled up, its claws grew to a foot long, and rotten energy emanated from its body as it unleashed several claw lights. Gu Qijue swept his takai to cut them apart, then rushed forward with a boom, savagely slashing across the Rat King's waist. Simultaneously, the twin dragons behind him lunged out and bit off a large chunk of flesh from its shoulder. "Ah!" The Rat King roared in agony, instantly reverted to its main body form, and fled at top speed, but how could Gu Qijue let it leave alive? He chased after it closely. Devouring a calamity-level rat king would yield immense benefits. The rat and the dragon quickly disappeared into the distance. The white fox, who was dealing with the remaining rat monsters, watched them leave. She wanted to leave right then, but after thinking it over, she decided not to go. She thought about how the black dragon hadn't said anything, yet immediately rushed forward to fight the rat king desperately. If she left now, the next time they met, he would likely kill her without mercy. Making such a terrifying enemy was not a wise decision. Just as the white fox finished dealing with the hundreds of rat monsters here, a figure quickly approached in the dark night. It was Gu Qijue returning. His aura was significantly stronger than before. Clearly, after devouring the Rat King, he had achieved a breakthrough to Tier 3. Now, he just felt a wave of thirst. "I thought you ran away." Gu Qijue was slightly surprised to see the white fox still there. The white fox, with her bare, white, crystalline feet, gracefully walked toward him and thanked him. "Big Brother Black Dragon risked his life fighting the Rat King to save me. How could I dare just run away?" Gu Qijue looked her up and down, realizing that this fox demon was truly captivating. "Master, your thoughts are a bit wicked." Xiao Yao's voice rang out in his mind at that moment. "Dragons are naturally lustful. Damn it, isn't this your genes acting up? Damn it. I don't feel anything when I see human women, but seeing this demon-like thing, I actually have this urge." Gu Qijue immediately shifted the blame onto Xiao Yao. This was the honest truth. Even the woman who offered her body in exchange for him taking her away, Gu Qijue felt nothing, even seeing her pale, exposed body. But this fox demon gave him an urge to, am I really not human anymore? Gu Qijue smiled bitterly in his heart. "Fine, it's all my fault." Xiao Yao couldn't help but retort. "Big Brother Black Dragon, then I'll follow you from now on." The white fox's crimson lips were alluring, her delicate face was charming and seductive, her beautiful, limpid eyes seemed ready to drip with enchantment, her figure was tall and curvaceous, and her soft, coquettish voice was utterly fatal. Gu Qijue suppressed the urge coming from his body's genes and said, "Then let's go, follow me to a place." Having said that, he turned and quickly ran toward the direction of the zoo. "Go to a place? He doesn't want to, me." "Does he?" The white fox bit her delicate lip and followed closely behind him as they departed. "New book, seedling, please vote for me, please give me monthly tickets, please continue reading, I am deeply grateful." 11 Reborn, Mutation past 1 in the morning. In the dark night, Baihu nervously followed behind Gu Qijue. As they walked further and further, Baihu realized that she had overthought things. She immediately took a few steps forward, came to Gu Qijue's side, and asked, "Big Brother Black Dragon, where are we going? I feel like we should be devouring more right now." "Devouring small fry won't improve much. I know a monkey zoo that has at least 20 or 30 variant rank, 3 evil spirit rank, and 1 peak evil spirit rank mutated monkeys. Let's go devour them first." Gu Qijue's running speed was extremely fast, almost reaching 80 kilometers per hour. "Tonight, he must become stronger." "Big Brother Black Dragon, that place has already become a large shelter," Baihu informed him. "What did you say?" Gu Qijue heard these words and didn't react for a moment. As far as he knew, it was impossible for anyone to build a shelter at that monkey zoo. What exactly was going on? Gu Qijue quickly searched through his memories, but he found no such memory. Baihu shook her head and said, "I don't know either, I just came from that direction. It's a fortress-like shelter, with an electric net covering the sky and walls 200 meters high. We can't get in at all. I don't have memories from before my rebirth. Could it be someone else just like me has been reborn? And they are also a person of immense wealth?" Gu Qijue had to suspect that someone just like him had been reborn. He wanted to see what kind of shelter it was, if possible. Could he attack it and claim it for himself? In the apocalypse, no one talks about morality, order, or law. Everything is decided by fists. About 10 minutes later, indeed, the place that was once a zoo had now become a fortress-like building of the apocalypse. The 200-meter-high thick walls probably couldn't even be breached by 6 or 7 rank mutated monsters. Moreover, on top of the walls, not only were there power-generating windmills, but also a 100,000-volt electric net. Building such a large fortress, covering 40 to 50,000 square meters, wouldn't it cost tens of billions? Humans are truly amazing. This shelter is simply a work of supernatural craftsmanship, Baihu said a little enviously as she watched. Around the outer walls of the shelter, thousands of mutated monsters were howling. They wanted to climb up, but after only climbing 10 meters, they were electrocuted by the electrified iron plates on the walls. becoming crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. In the sky, bird and insect mutated creatures tried to rush in, but they were all blocked by the electric net, causing sparks to fly everywhere for a time. Who exactly is it? Gu Qijue frowned slightly, pulled out his phone from his pocket, glanced at the time, and suddenly realized that there was actually a network. Showing a satellite network, this made him even more surprised. He remembered that in his previous life, the Empire had been paralyzed, and the satellite network was only activated more than half a month later. All these strange occurrences made Gu Qijue feel very eerie. Could it be that the owner of this shelter had informed the Empire about the mutated apocalypse in advance? Only then would it make sense for the satellite network to be activated so quickly. Rumble, sure enough. Just as Gu Qijue finished looking at his phone. Suddenly, outside the city, hundreds of fighter jets roared into Cloud City, then activated their thermal imaging radar scans. Under thermal imaging radar scans, humans and monsters were easy to distinguish. Boom, the fighter jet fleet avoided survivor gathering points and began bombing. Caw, roar, 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 however. The fleet soon encountered attacks from flying mutated creatures. Overwhelmingly, all kinds of hideous birds and insects, like mad, swept towards the fleet. For a time, flames rolled, and soon fighter jets began to fall. In this apocalypse with an additional reborn, it seems different from my previous life. Gu Qijue looked at the sky filled with flames, shook his head, opened his phone, entered Haiyan, and searched for Cloud City Zoo shelter. Related videos immediately popped up. These were videos from 2 months ago. Mutation, chairwoman of Hengyu Group, spared no expense, investing billions to purchase Cloud City's largest monkey zoo, and within just 2 months built a large shelter. This woman, almost certainly, is also a reborn. Reborn 2 months earlier than me. Gu Qijue watched these videos and became completely convinced that the latter was a reborn. Moreover, she had also informed the Empire that the mutated apocalypse was coming. Thus, it made sense why the satellite network was activated so quickly. Big Brother Black Dragon, you have a human's phone? Bai Hu looked at Gu Qijue, operating the human phone so skillfully. With a moment of hesitation, Gu Qijue didn't answer her, continuing to scroll through videos. Indeed, he scrolled to a news video released by the Empire. The mutated apocalypse has descended, causing heavy losses to humanity. If you are still alive, please hide as much as possible and await rescue from the Empire's army. In this mutated apocalypse, batches of super martial artists have awakened among humans. The Empire implores these super martial artists to join the Empire's army's rescue efforts to save more future sparks for our humanity. Infighting will only accelerate humanity's demise. Humanity needs to unite to overcome this catastrophic disaster. After watching this video, Gu Qijue searched for Cloud City. Sure enough, Cloud City also had an Empire video. Greetings, super martial artists of Cloud City, I am Lin Tiandu, the person in charge of the Cloud City military region. Regarding this apocalypse, we actually had an early premonition, but were unwilling to believe it, yet we still made preparations. As of now, our Cloud City East suburban military region has cleared all mutated monsters and built an underground shelter capable of accommodating 3 million humans. We sincerely hope that all humans in Cloud City can join our rescue efforts and fight against the mutated monsters to the end. We recruit all super martial artists, will not abandon any survivor, and will not let go of any evil maniacs who harm humanity in the apocalypse. Watching this video, Gu Qijue was expressionless. He wasn't afraid of Mutation, who was also a reborn. Even if she could be reborn, it wouldn't change her own transformation. If he could awaken as a super martial artist in his previous life, he would certainly be able to awaken in this life as well. If he couldn't awaken, even if he was reborn, it would still be impossible to awaken. In his previous life, Gu Qijue had heard of this person. Mutation, she awakened as an emperor-rank super martial artist, and it should be the same after her rebirth. The only difference was that she built a shelter. Gu Qijue didn't believe that she could be as crazy as him. To devour other powerful things, even if she did devour, she couldn't be as powerful as him, because the Black Dragon of his previous life was the combat power ceiling of this planet, an invincible existence in one-on-one combat. Big Brother Black Dragon, let's go, let's devour and become stronger. We can't get into this shelter. Bai Hu saw Gu Qijue's eyes flickering, as if he was thinking about something, and whispered this. Rumble just as Bai Hu finished speaking. The heavy iron gate of the shelter rumbled open, and then over 100 super martial artists swarmed out. 12. Even if I were to live a second life, I still couldn't change the course of events. inside the fortress-like shelter. The construction was very luxurious. The power sources included solar generators and wind power. The defensive measures were also maximized. The ground was reinforced with steel-reinforced concrete to prevent mutated creatures that could burrow. Besides this, there were also several small factories providing the manufacturing of daily necessities. Water sources were also abundant, with several wells drilled. Furthermore, there were more than 10 rice paddy fields. While the outside world was utterly chaotic, this shelter was a scene of harmony. Rumble, just then, the shelter's heavy iron gate rumbled open, and over 100 super martial artists swarmed out. This group of super martial artists was extremely powerful. As soon as they rushed out, they began slaughtering the mutated creatures outside. Are these the super martial artists among humans? Bai Hu looked at the immensely powerful group of over 100 super martial artists and asked curiously. Gu Qijue watched silently. Saying nothing, the super martial artists, after clearing the monsters outside the shelter, carried the monster corpses back one after another. Why are they carrying those monster corpses back? Bai Hu looked puzzled. Gu Qijue understood perfectly. He was truly certain that Mu Qingsu was a rebirth. They were carrying back those monster corpses undoubtedly because they wanted to try and grow mutated trees. Interesting. Gu Qijue showed a wicked smile and said, "Let's go devour and become stronger. When dawn arrives, a more brutal slaughter awaits us. When tomorrow's sunlight illuminates the earth, many mutated trees will sprout. The mutated fruit they bear is the greatest resource for increasing strength, whether for the super martial artists or for Gu Qijue and his companion." He knew. And Mu Qingsu definitely knew too. This shelter has so many super martial artists. Mu Qingsu undoubtedly recruited them before the arrival of the mutation apocalypse. She did this very well, inside the quiet shelter. In the central, luxurious villa hall. District Chief Lin, I can only accommodate a little over 1,000 survivors here. 10,000 is too difficult. And the food supply is insufficient. On the sofa sat an exceptionally beautiful woman wearing a tight dress, with a curvy, graceful figure and a delicate, fair oval face, possessing an elegant aura. Currently on a phone call, 1,000 is fine too, as far as I know. You have recruited many super martial artists under you. Can you dispatch them to assist the Empire's army in a joint rescue operation? The voice on the phone was authoritative and deep. Naturally. There's no problem. I will send people to help you, Mu Qingsu agreed readily. All right, let's leave it at that for now. Contact me anytime if something happens. District Chief Lin said, then hung up the call. Boss. I'm back. Just then, a woman wearing vermilion bird armor quickly walked into the villa from outside. If Gu Qijue were here, he would definitely recognize this woman. Vermilion Bird, in his previous life. She was one of the peak powerhouses among humanity. He hadn't expected Mu Qingsu to recruit even her in advance. How is it? Did you find that black dragon? Mu Qingsu looked at the newcomer and asked softly. As a rebirth. No one understood the terror of that black dragon better than her, except for Gu Qijue. If they couldn't eliminate it while it was weak, it would be impossible to deal with later. Zhu Hongyu shook her head and said, Boss. I searched all around that school but didn't see any black dragon. When I returned, however, I heard that a reserve team of the Empire's army encountered a man with 2 black dragons growing from his back. I wonder if that's the black dragon transformed. It can transform its form? Mu Qingsu was startled upon hearing this. It reached 3rd tier by devouring so quickly, as far as she knew. All mutated creatures above the evil spirit rank could change into various forms after reaching the 3rd tier. Mutated creatures can still transform form? Zhu Hongyu was surprised by the news. Mutated creatures are also divided into ranks: ordinary, true seed, variant seed, evil seed, and calamity level. Evil seed rank mutated creatures can transform into various appearances after devouring their way to the 3rd tier. Mu Qingsu sighed, saying, It's still too late, as expected of the strongest creature in the mutation apocalypse. Ding dong. Suddenly, District Chief Lin sent a video to Mu Qingsu's phone and asked, Boss Mu, have you ever seen these 2 mutated creatures? Are they human or mutated creatures? Seeing this, Mu Qingsu clicked on the video to watch. In the video was a man with white hair and blood-red eyes, with 2 ferocious black dragons growing from his back, alongside a woman with 9 fox tails. They were slaughtering 10 super martial artists. Their methods were brutal and vicious, killing almost 1 person with every attack. Furthermore, wherever they passed, nearby mutated creatures scattered and fled in panic. Boss, the person mentioned by the reserve team captain is exactly this man in the video. Zhu Hongyu immediately stated upon seeing this. Mu Qingsu, however, frowned slightly. The black dragon in her memory was incredibly arrogant and would absolutely not transform form into a human appearance. Puzzled, she replied to District Chief Lin, "District Chief Lin, that fox is definitely a mutated creature, but I'm not certain about the white-haired, blood-eyed man. The white-haired, blood-eyed man is the murderer of my grandson. He appeared after the aurora swept across the star-blue continent." District Chief Lin replied via voice message, his voice very low. "What? This white-haired, blood-eyed man appeared shortly after the aurora?" Mu Qingsu replied in surprise upon hearing this. "At 5:30 in the afternoon. He appeared at the school gate and brutally murdered my grandson. Boss Mu, I want to ask you to kill him, whether he is a monster or a human. It's impossible to kill him now, no matter how many super martial artists go. They will just be sacrificing themselves. Let's wait a few more days," Mu Qingsu replied. "Mutated creatures can upgrade by devouring, while their super martial artists need to absorb sunlight to cultivate, or consume mutated fruit. All right, I'm counting on you. Cloud City's satellites will track it as much as possible. Such an anomaly should indeed be eliminated sooner rather than later." After replying, Mu Qingsu continued watching the video and muttered, "Did that black dragon evolve so quickly? It reached third tier and transformed form in just half an hour?" Mu Qingsu didn't believe such a thing was possible. There must be something fishy going on. "Boss, what is the difference between them and the legendary demons?" The fact that these mutated monsters could turn into humans seemed truly miraculous to Zhu Hongyu. Evil sea drank and calamity-level mutated creatures are indeed no different from demons. Mu Qingsu sighed softly, saying, "If humanity doesn't unite, we will eventually face extinction. The ocean covers 71% of the star-blue continent, and the sheer number of mutated creatures is something humanity absolutely cannot withstand." Mu Qingsu realized that even with rebirth, she seemed unable to change anything significant. She could only ensure the Empire was prepared early to minimize casualties. "Since they possess human intelligence, can we not cooperate with them?" Zhu Hongyu said. "Anyway, these mutated creatures only devour each other in internal slaughter. I think we can try to cooperate with evil sea drank and calamity-level mutated creatures." To be honest, I was thinking the same thing. Mu Qingsu's eyes flickered, and she said, "Furthermore, I already have an object of cooperation. 13. If you don't know how to cherish something, then death is the only option." 5 a.m. Dawn was about to break. Underground boxing arena. Zhao Hu, Zhang Feng, Li Si, Deng Tian, Wu Jiao, and Tang Huang, the 5 super martial artists, along with the 3 super martial artists they recruited, had all returned. That night, most of the resources they found were purified water. There was no other way with such a terrifying master. "Boss, do we really have to follow that monster and acknowledge him as our master?" Deng Tian, who hadn't witnessed Gu Qijue's terror, said unwillingly. Tang Huang showed a fierce expression and said, "Yes, why, how about, when he comes back we team up and kill him? You want to kill him, do it yourselves. Don't drag me to my deaths." Zhao Hu let out a cold laugh. "Anyway, I won't be his enemy. I hope you don't disagree. Our so-called super martial artists are no different from ants in front of him. Is he really that powerful?" Wu Jiao looked at how wary the boss was of that monster man, and said with some hesitation. Zhang Feng and Li Si said, "More than powerful, he's incredibly abnormal." Tang Huang lit a cigarette, took a deep puff, and said, "Since that's the case, let's not talk about killing him. If he's really that amazing, following him would make us safer." Wu Jiao said thoughtfully, "The Diyuan group in Capital City has made a move and is gathering super martial artists here. I wonder how many will respond. It's not a bad thing for us to have such a powerful boss." Zhao Hu also nodded. "That's right. Joining the Diyuan group and letting them control us is impossible. No matter what, he didn't dare to betray Gu Qijue, not to mention that monster-like man's formidable strength. He also knew so much. Following such an existence could make one feel a little more at ease." Just as they were chatting, the main door of the hall they were in was opened from the outside. Hearing the sound, everyone looked over simultaneously. Gu Qijue entered quickly with White Fox. "Master!" Seeing who had returned, Zhao Hu's spirits lifted and he stepped forward to greet him. The others followed suit, respectfully calling out "Master," while observing Gu Qijue and the White Fox behind him. White Fox looked at these super martial artists among humans, and a great doubt arose in her heart. It was hard to understand why this Black Dragon King would be so close to humans. These people even called him Master. Zhao Hu and the others looked at White Fox, also showing surprise. They increasingly doubted their master's identity. Could he really be a black dragon transformed into human form? Gu Qijue nodded slightly at them. Then his gaze fell on the purified water placed on the ground not far away. He walked over, picked up a barrel and drank large gulps. After drinking 3 barrels, Gu Qijue was finally satisfied. Everyone watched him as if he were a monster. After hunting for several hours outside, Gu Qijue was now at the late stage of the Third Order. White Fox was at the middle stage of the Third Order. Where's that woman? She's not back yet. Gu Qijue put down the plastic barrel, noticing that although 3 new super martial artists had joined, the woman from before was missing, and he said coldly. Zhao Hu stepped forward and replied, "She hasn't returned yet, but I know who she is. She's Chu Mengxi, the daughter of Chu Baixuan, the chairman of the new god group. Contact her as much as possible. If she doesn't return within half an hour, I will kill her." Gu Qijue sat down on a nearby sofa and took out a cigarette. Zhao Hu saw this, took out a lighter, stepped forward to light it for him and said, "Okay, I happen to have Chu Baixuan's WeChat. I'll contact him right away." With that, he took out his phone and sent a message directly to Chu Baixuan. Ding dong, not long after Zhao Hu sent the message, Chu Baixuan replied with 3 words, "Just wait to die, master." Chu Baixuan told us to wait to die. Zhao Hu's face darkened, and he turned the screen towards Gu Qijue. "Arrogant, turn on the positioning. There's still an hour until dawn. Let's go deal with them first." Gu Qijue had given them a chance, since they didn't know how to cherish it. Then they could only die. Located, New God Building. White Fox, you take them to Yunyuan High School to gather Jai Shang and the others. I'll go meet Chu Baixuan first. Gu Qijue got up and walked out, saying, "New God Group, assemble?" The reason he let White Fox lead them was that without White Fox, a top-tier evil seed, even super martial artists would struggle outside, as there were too many wandering mutated monsters. "Everyone, follow me." White Fox's captivating, limpid eyes glanced at these human super martial artists, and she said indifferently. She had no good feelings for humans, not just her. But all animal mutated creatures were hostile towards humans. "Wu Jiao, you stay here to guard, the rest of us. Let's go." Zhao Hu led the others to follow. A group of humans wearing super martial armor following behind a stunningly beautiful and enchanting woman with 9 fox tails. This scene was incredibly bizarre. "Sister White Fox, how did you and Master meet?" Zhao Hu probed, seemingly casually. "We just met. What about you? How could Big Brother Black Dragon take a liking to weaklings like you?" White Fox's words, however, were full of disdain. These so-called super martial artists in front of her could be killed with 1 move, and she wouldn't need a second. Hearing her contemptuous words, Deng Tian, Tang Huang, and the others frowned slightly. But when they realized that after leaving the underground boxing arena, the nearby mutated creatures all fled upon seeing White Fox, they were secretly shocked and dared not refute her. Perhaps, in front of this fox demon and that dragon demon, they were indeed as weak as ants. New God Building, underground shelter. In Chu Baixuan's study. "Brother Chu, my shelter here is absolutely safe. Why don't you bring sister-in-law and the others over? If we join forces, we'll be a decent power in this apocalypse." Chu Baixuan was on a call, and the person on the other end was Mu Qingsu. Chu Baixuan's awakened gluttony super martial ability was of the saint rank. If he could be recruited, Mu Qingsu's shelter would gain another high-end combatant. Chu Baixuan thought for a moment and said, "To be honest, I also want to bring my family and subordinates over, but mutated creatures are everywhere outside. It's too difficult." He also knew that living here long-term was not a wise choice. Mu Qingsu's smiling voice came through. "That's easy to say. I'll have Vermilion Bird lead 50 Emperor-rank super martial artists to escort you over right now. How about it? All right, if you can make it here, I'll bring my people over with you." Chu Baixuan had no reason to refuse such a good offer. He knew how safe and sturdy the shelter Mu Qingsu had built was. Most importantly, they could live on the surface, bask in the sunlight, and breathe fresh air. Good if all goes well. Vermilion Bird should arrive with her people within an hour. I'll welcome Brother Chu in advance. Please give some recommendation votes. Is anyone reading? I feel like I'm playing a single-player game. I'm going to cry. 14. Disaster level adorable baby new god group underground shelter. Dad, I've thought about it again and again. And I don't think I can stay. That man is too powerful. As soon as Chu Baixuan finished his call with Mu Qingsu, Chu Mengxi knocked on the door and entered, saying with a bite on her red lips. Chu Baixuan frowned upon hearing this and said, "Nonsense, stay here obediently. We're moving to your Aunt Mu's shelter immediately." Chu Mengxi thought for a moment, then nodded. "This, all right." With that, she left the study. However, she didn't listen to her father. After leaving the study, she secretly departed. She didn't want to bring disaster upon her family because of herself. This was the decision she made after several hours of deliberation. It wasn't until she entered the elevator that Chu Mengxi's anxious heart finally settled a little. Coming to the ground. Stepping out of the elevator, a furious roar suddenly came from outside. Hearing the sound, Chu Mengxi donned her super martial armor and cautiously went out to observe. When she saw the scene outside, she was very glad she made her decision. She saw a three-headed giant python, over 20 meters long, having its three heads successively chopped off by Gu Qijue. Hot blood splattered everywhere, and the twin dragons behind him began to devour it. Master! Seeing this, Chu Mengxi quickly walked out and called. Oh, Gu Qijue looked up, playfully saying, I thought you wouldn't come. It's like this. When I went home last night, I encountered too many mutated creatures. I was really too tired fighting my way back, so I slept until now. The first thing I planned to do after waking up was to come back and find you. Master, Chu Mengxi didn't dare to say that she had been agonizing for several hours, and whispered, Master, why did you come personally? Gu Qijue sneered, Naturally, I came to kill you, but since you're here now, I can spare your life. Go call your father out and make him responsible for what he said. This, Master. What happened? What did my father say? Chu Mengxi was startled. He told me to wait for death. I'd like to see if he has the ability. Gu Qijue was a person who held grudges. Speaking rashly in front of him would also come at a price. Master. Please spare him. My father doesn't know your methods. Please, Master, be lenient. Chu Mengxi was greatly alarmed upon hearing this and immediately knelt down, pleading, My father is also a super martial artist. And not just an ordinary one. He can definitely become your right-hand man, Master. I'm afraid that's just wishful thinking on your part. With your father's high and mighty attitude, how could he condescend? Gu Qijue said coldly. If he is willing to follow me, everything is negotiable. If not, I'll have to ask him to die. Yes, I will definitely persuade him. Please wait. Master, Chu Mengxi felt heavy-hearted and quickly turned back. Gu Qijue didn't follow her in. He took out a cigarette, lit it, and looked towards the Cloud City giant panda breeding and research base, muttering. It's a pity that the calamity-level national treasure panda, after its mutation, is still with its caretaker. Otherwise, I could try to recruit it as well. While he was thinking this, Mutation had already contacted the caretaker of that calamity-level panda more than 20 minutes ago. Before the mutation arrived, Mutation had already obtained her contact information. If her shelter had a calamity-level panda guarding it, she wouldn't be so constrained when calamity creatures emerged later to compete for mutated fruit. Mutated fruit, whether for super martial artists or mutated creatures, can greatly enhance evolution when consumed. Aunt Zhang, I'm also cooperating with the Empire. If you bring cute treasure here, you'll also be serving the Empire. Our purpose is to protect ordinary people. Mutation was speaking with the caretaker of the calamity-level panda, since Boss Mu said so. I'll bring cute treasure and the 100+ survivors here. Hearing Mutation say this, Zhang Li couldn't refuse. Good, I'll wait for you. Hearing Zhang Li agree to come, Mutation breathed a sigh of relief and said, Aunt Zhang, how about this? You first go to the new god group. There are also survivors coming over from there. With cute treasure's deterrence, it will be safer. No problem. I'll organize the survivors here and head over now. Good, thank you for your trouble. Ending the call with Zhang Li, Mutation glanced at the time. It's less than an hour until dawn. At that time, mutated trees will grow in 9 different places in Cloud City. Each mutated tree will have 1,000 to 2,000 mutated fruit. If we can occupy one, that would be pretty good. At this moment, outside the new God Group building, Gu Qijue waited for 7 or 8 minutes. Just then, Chu Mengxi walked out of the building alone. She wasn't wearing her super martial armor, and her eyes were a little red, as if she had been crying. Seeing her come out alone, Gu Qijue had a general idea of what happened. Master, if you can spare my father's life, then my life, Chu Mengxi's life, will be yours from now on. Chu Mengxi looked at Gu Qijue, her delicate, pale face filled with determination. Only this once. If he dares to be my enemy another day, I will personally twist off his head. Gu Qijue glanced at Chu Mengxi indifferently. Remember what you said. From today on, your life belongs to me. Thank you, Master, Chu Mengxi whispered. He no longer recognizes me as his daughter. This is all I can do for him. Knowing how powerful the man in front of her was, Chu Mengxi didn't want to die with her father. As she said, all she could do was beg Gu Qijue to spare her father this once. Just then, the sound of vehicles driving suddenly came from a distant street. Moments later, 2 large buses came into view, slowly stopping outside the new God building. On the roof of the front bus sat a boy who looked 11 or 12 years old. dressed in black clothes and with two panda ears on his head. Gu Qijue looked at the boy with panda ears on the car roof, already having some guesses about his identity. The boy was also sizing up Gu Qijue, feeling a considerable sense of pressure from this man. Firstly, he was early stage tier 3. Gu Qijue was late stage tier 3. Secondly, Gu Qijue was a calamity level among the strongest, while he could at most be considered an outstanding one among calamity levels. "Hello, big brother." Cute Treasure then smiled and waved to Gu Qijue, greeting him. Gu Qijue had no intention of attacking Cute Treasure and asked, "Why are you here? My caretaker said we're coming here to pick up a batch of survivors and then go to a shelter together." Cute Treasure was very innocent and revealed everything without reservation. Gu Qijue said with interest, "Picking people up, people from the new god group?" Cute Treasure nodded, "Yes. In the future, I hope you don't become my enemy, otherwise I will kill you and devour you." Gu Qijue warned Cute Treasure, then left with Chu Mengxi. 15. Mutant creatures. Cute Treasure watched Gu Qijue leave. At this moment, a woman, not strikingly beautiful but pleasant to look at, stepped off the bus. She came up to Cute Treasure and asked curiously, "Cute Treasure, is that white-haired, blood-eyed man one of your kind?" "Yes, a very terrifying existence. I am not his match." Cute Treasure nodded seriously. Upon hearing this, Zhang Li asked strangely, "Since he's one of your kind, why is he still with a human?" Cute Treasure shook her head and said, "I don't know. But I won't be his enemy. Since he has no hostility towards us, there's no need to be his enemy." Zhang Li nodded, then took out her phone to contact Chu Baixuan, asking him to bring people out. On a tall building nearby, Gu Qijue watched them from there. "Master, is that Cute Treasure one of your kind?" Chu Mengxi asked in a low voice, steeling herself. To be honest, she was very curious. This being, who had openly committed a crime at the school gate earlier, was he human or a mutated monster? "Do I look like a monster to you?" Gu Qijue glanced at her indifferently and said, "I am human. Just like you, and I'm also your classmate." "Ah, this?" Chu Mengxi was completely bewildered by what she heard. The doubts in her heart grew, but she didn't dare to ask more. Ding dong, at this moment, a message arrived on Gu Qijue's phone in his pocket. He took it out and saw it was from Zhao Hu. "Master, something bad has happened. We encountered a strange mutated monster on the road. Sister White Fox can't fight it and is about to be forced back to her original form." Strange mutated creature? Gu Qijue's gaze slightly condensed upon seeing this. Could it be that weird transformation creature have appeared so quickly? If one were to ask what the most terrifying creatures in the mutated apocalypse were, it would undoubtedly be the weird transformation creature. They are species born after human mutation. These weird transformation creature are bloodthirsty, cruel, strange, and solitary. They are hunters in the dark. Both humans and mutated creatures are their prey. In other words, they are weird transformation creature that have undergone another metamorphosis after mutation, and each one possesses calamity-level strength. They prefer to devour humans, followed by mutated creatures. Seeing this message, Gu Qijue said to Chu Mengxi beside him, "You and your father should go to Mu Qingsu's shelter first and scout out the situation inside. This is my WeChat." After she added him, Gu Qijue disappeared into the night at the fastest possible speed. What kind of monster could make him so anxious? Chu Mengxi hesitated for a moment, then said bitterly, "It seems I have to go back and apologize to Dad." Jai, on a street about 10 kilometers from the new god group, within a radius of several hundred meters. No mutated creatures dared to approach. In this street, eerie and chilling laughter continuously emanated from all directions. Zhao Hu, Deng Tian, Tang Huang, White Fox, Jai Shang, and their group. A total of 23 super martial artists, now only 15 remained, backing each other, clutching their weapons tightly, their eyes staring in terror at the surrounding darkness. What kind of monster is it? It's elusive. And every time it strikes, it takes one of our brothers. Damn this apocalypse, why are we still so vulnerable even after becoming super martial artists and being able to summon super martial armor to possess us? Damn it. I don't want to die. The super martial artists from the school, although all wearing super martial armor, were clearly terrified at this moment. Their hands, clutching their weapons, trembled, and fear almost made them collapse. Look at your pathetic selves, pull yourselves together. Can fear solve anything? It will only make you die faster. Zhao Hu, annoyed by the weak curses of the student super martial artists, shouted angrily. No need to blame them so much. The existence we're facing now, besides those at Big Brother Black Dragon's level, anyone else would despair upon encountering it. White Fox had already transformed into her fox true form. Her buffalo-sized body was covered in bloodstains, and her aura was very weak. She said, Now we can only pray that Big Brother Black Dragon arrives quickly. The monster in the darkness gave her a very chilling feeling. White Fox felt that it seemed to have held back against her. Otherwise she might have died long ago. Jai Jai swish, ah, suddenly accompanied by a strange laugh and a black shadow. A student super martial artist was instantly snatched away by the black shadow and disappeared into the darkness. Ah no, don't eat me. Ah 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 ah. Then from that part of the darkness a series of heartbreaking, miserable screams echoed. These screams sounded as if they had witnessed some unprecedented terror, making everyone present's hair stand on end. Ah, I don't care anymore, I'm leaving first. Finally, one student could no longer endure the torment, let out a roar, left the group and ran away. Ah, however, just as he ran into the darkness, his heartbreaking screams echoed. Jai Jai Jai, accompanying the screams was a series of evil, eerie laughs. Beast, it wants us to be eaten by it in boundless fear. Listening to the echoing strange laughter, Zhao Hu felt cold all over, a chill running down his spine. It was possible that he would be next. Big Brother Black Dragon, why isn't he here yet? Jai Sheng, who didn't know Gu Qijue's name, was also trembling and like White Fox. Called Gu Qijue Big Brother Black Dragon, the new god group is more than 10 kilometers from here. With Master's speed, he should be here soon. Tang Huang said, his teeth chattering, I'm just afraid that even if Master comes, he won't be a match for the monster in the darkness. As soon as he said this, everyone's mood became even heavier. Swish, ah, a moment later another black shadow flashed, and a super martial artist among them was snatched away. They couldn't even see the shadow's appearance. In the next 3 to 4 minutes, 4 more super martial artists were successively snatched away by the black shadow. Including White Fox, there were 23 people when they arrived, but now only 12 remained. What do we do? What do we do? I don't want to die, someone save me, Someone had already broken down crying, collapsing to the ground, even unable to maintain their super martial armor, with unknown liquid flowing from their crotch. Zhao Hu and the others were also in despair at this moment, their bodies trembling uncontrollably. Roar, however, just then on a distant street. A violent dragon roar swept over, booming. Accompanied by a gust of wind, Gu Qijue finally arrived, his blood-red pupils fixed on a spot in the darkness. Following his gaze, a pair of crimson eyes lit up in that darkness. Boss! Zhao Hu and the others felt an inexplicable sense of security upon seeing him, and the fear in their hearts receded like a tide. In their view, as long as Gu Qijue was here, everything would be fine. Please give recommendation tickets, monthly tickets, deeply grateful. 16, advanced to Tier 4, Thunder Dragon Sword. Gu Qijue's arrival finally allowed Zhao Hu and the others to breathe a sigh of relief. Zhao Hu stepped forward and asked in a low voice, Master, what exactly is that monster in the dark? It comes and goes without a trace. We lost over a dozen brothers without even seeing what it looked like. In his view, Gu Qijue was omniscient. The crowd slightly calmed the fear in their hearts and pricked up their ears to listen. Weird transformation creatures, they are beings that mutated again after human deviation. These monsters are sinister, cruel, bizarre, and solitary. Every single one is extremely powerful. If you encounter one, you are basically facing a dead end. Gu Qijue looked at the crimson eyes in the darkness. He truly hadn't expected this type of weird transformation creature to appear so quickly. Big Brother Black Dragon, are you confident you can deal with it? Jai Sheng was a little nervous, voicing the question everyone most wanted answered. After all, they could only rely on him. If even he couldn't deal with it, they would probably be wiped out here. Jai Sheng, give me your weapon. Gu Qijue looked at the latter. The previous katana was too weak. He needed a handy weapon to deal with such a weird transformation creature. Here, without a word, Jai Sheng handed the 2 Asura war blades in his hands to Gu Qijue. Then, he summoned an Asura spear. His Asura super weapon was a Saint tier super weapon consisting of 3 sets of weapons, war blades, a spear, and a bow. Jai Jai Jai. In that darkness, crimson eyes flickered, and a series of strange laughs rang out. However, at this moment, the sun slowly rose, a streak of morning light ushering in the dawn and shining upon the horizon. When a ray of morning light shone into that darkness, everyone saw it. It was an extremely ferocious monster with 3 eyes, a mouth full of sharp fangs, gray skin, a left hand like a claw, a right hand like a blade, a tail, a row of bone spurs on its back, and 2 gaping bloody mouths on its chest. It was short in stature, but looked exceptionally fierce. Its left hand was nimble like a blade, and its right claw was sharp like an eagle's talon. Its 3 eyes were filled with bloodthirsty frenzy and terrifying demonic power, looking as if it feared nothing. as if it were the absolute dominator of everything, flashing with cold, bloodthirsty, and violent light. Seeing such a monster, everyone couldn't help but shiver, because it was gnawing on a heart. Its mouth was covered in blood, and its gaze was chilling. White fox, you lead everyone and head in this direction first. The mutated fruit is very important to us. It concerns whether you can increase your strength in a short period of time. Gu Qijue glanced at the monster, took out his phone to locate the growing place of a mutated tree, and told White Fox to take the group there. Zhao Hu looked at him and said, "Master, be careful, we will wait for you there." With that, led by White Fox, the group ran away. Jai, the weird transformation creature, did not stop them. Its gaze was fixed on Gu Qijue, as if looking at the most delicious food in the world. Its long, pointed tongue licked its lips. Swoosh, in the next moment, the weird transformation creature turned into a gray shadow and vanished from the spot with a swoosh. Its speed was almost instantaneous. The claw on its left hand tore toward his chest, and the blade on its right hand slashed horizontally toward his neck. Such a swift offensive, even if the Rat King Gu Qijue killed last night or Cute Treasure encountered it, they would be severely wounded if not killed. However, Gu Qijue reacted extremely fast. The Asura war blades in his hand, wrapped in black dragon power, blocked the weird transformation creature's killing blow with two clang sounds. The terrifying force shook the weird transformation creature several meters away. Boom! Gu Qijue gave it no chance to react, charging forward violently with a boom. The war blades in his hand could slash 7 to 8 times per second, and terrifying blade light swept over it with a roar. The weird transformation creature roared, blood light flashing in its eyes, and swung its blade and sharp claws to meet the attack. Clang clang, kiang kiang. The weird transformation creature's claws and blades, cast like metal, collided with Gu Qijue's Asura war blades, causing sparks to fly and a grating metallic clang. Their attack speed and movement speed were both terrifying. In just a few blinks, they fought their way off the street. Boom boom, any obstruction in their path was pierced by their attacks. Bang, rumble. After several hundred rounds, Gu Qijue delivered a kick with the force of 10,000 tons, fiercely sending the weird transformation creature flying. Under the impact of the immense force, the weird transformation creature smashed through an entire building before finally stopping. It roared and climbed to its feet, blood spilling from its mouth. Through the hole it smashed, it gave Gu Qijue a fearful glance, then turned and fled without the slightest hesitation. Stay! Gu Qijue let out a cold snort, no longer hiding his strength. Dragon scales, dragon horns, and a dragon tail grew from his body, and with a boom, he transformed into a humanoid tyrant dragon and pursued it. This was a second evolution weird transformation creature. If he devoured it, Gu Qijue could advance to the 4th tier. How could he let it escape right under his nose? Rumble, rumble, Gu Qijue's speed was astonishing, and his dragon might was vast. In just a few breaths, when he was less than 4 meters from the weird transformation creature, a tyrannical black dragon power suddenly erupted within him. The twin dragons behind him roared and shot out, wrapping around the weird transformation creature with 2 bangs, while the latter struggled, roaring continuously. Pachai, bound by the dragon's coils and unable to move. The weird transformation creature watched helplessly as Gu Qijue chopped off its head. Instantly, blood splattered, spraying like a fountain, with a lot of it splashing onto Gu Qijue. After slaying this weird transformation creature, Gu Qijue controlled the 2 black dragons behind him to feast heartily, with every bite ingested. A powerful heat current swept through Gu Qijue's entire body. Bite after bite, he was evolving towards the 4th tier. As he was about to advance to the 4th tier, Gu Qijue suddenly felt streams of electric current surging within his body. Boom, bang, crackle. Once he swallowed the last bite of the weird transformation creature, Gu Qijue advanced to the 4th tier, and black thunder and lightning crackled continuously within his body. At the same time, Gu Qijue was surprised to discover a mysterious space seemed to open within his glabella. Inside this mysterious space, everything was a vast gray expanse. Above the sky, a sea of thunder floated. In the center of the sea of thunder, a black thunder dragon sword visibly materialized. This is... Gu Qijue showed a look of surprise when the thunder dragon sword took shape with a single thought. The dragon sword wrapped in thunder appeared floating before him. This black dragon thunder sword emanated an aura of destruction, seemingly born purely for destruction. Under the shroud of its aura, the Asura war blades in Gu Qijue's hand immediately paled in comparison. I also have a life-bound weapon now. Gu Qijue returned to his normal state, retracted the thunder dragon sword, and disappeared from the spot in a few flashes. The third tier and fourth tier represent a huge watershed. The black dragon power within Gu Qijue's body had all transformed into black thunder. Moreover, his physical body had also improved by several grades. Please give me monthly tickets and recommendation tickets, thank you. 17. Aberrant trees sprout. Endless aberrant creatures converge. Dawn broke. And a new day arrived. However, many people would no longer see this day. The once prosperous cities across the nation no longer saw their former bustling crowds. Instead, groups and swarms of mutated creatures roamed through various residential areas and streets, and many survivors, desperate and fearful, hid in the shadows, awaiting rescue. Cloud City. After a night of rescue efforts by the Empire's army and many super martial artists, suffered heavy losses but managed to rescue over 800,000 survivors. Cloud City originally had a population of 10 million, 7/10 mutated, leaving over 3 million. It is estimated that more than 2 million of those died at the hands of mutated creatures. The fact that the Empire's army could rescue over 800,000 in one night shows they had done their utmost. The Cloud City Empire Army Shelter was built in the eastern suburbs. It was a shelter covering 5 million square meters, with walls 300 meters high. The reason it could accommodate so many survivors was because it had 9 underground levels. Inside the shelter, in the central conference building, in the luxurious hall, the surviving high-ranking officials of Cloud City were all seated at the conference table, looking at the satellite projection screen in the center. At the head was a dignified middle-aged man in a military uniform with 2 stars on his shoulders. The others, also in military uniforms, both men and women, all looked serious. They used satellites to scan the entire Cloud City. They were horrified to discover that there were over 30 million various mutated creatures combined. They were spread throughout the city's counties, districts, and towns, with human mutations being rare and insects, animals, and birds being more common, especially rats and ants. Many towns near mountains had become true ghost towns, with no survivors detected by satellite. This was already considered good. In Gu Qijue's previous life, the entire Cloud City had at most only 200,000 to 300,000 survivors. Among them, there were only about 2,000 to 3,000 super martial artists. Due to Gu Qijue's rebirth and report, the Empire's army was prepared, saving twice as many survivors. The fact that Gu Qijue could survive 8 years with such a high mortality rate was largely due to luck. General, what kind of tree is this? It's growing too fast. In less than 3 minutes, it has already grown to 200 meters high. Minister of Satellite Department Lin Manjiao divided the satellite projection into 9 screens, and on each screen there was a towering giant tree. These trees, both their trunks and leaves, were dark blue. The trees were full of fruits, similar to red apples, gradually maturing from dark blue to red, shimmering with a faint red glow. Around these mysterious towering trees, endless mutated creatures swept in like a tide. The sheer number was so vast that those with trypophobia might faint upon seeing this scene. Those flying in the sky and those crawling on the ground were all attracted by the fragrance of the fruits that gradually matured after the towering trees grew. In the city center of Cloud City, a mutated tree also grew. It grew under the morning sun. Countless mutated creatures gathered around, seemingly waiting for the fruits to mature. Inside the conference hall, the high-ranking officials of the Empire's army felt their scalps tingle as they watched the scene on the projection screen. What kind of tree is this? What kind of fruit? That can attract mutated creatures from 10 kilometers around. A man with 1 star on his shoulder said. Utterly horrified, he was Deputy General Yi Zhangguo. Gu Qijue should know, I'll contact her and ask. General Lin frowned slightly and used the satellite to contact Gu Qijue. A moment later, the call connected, and Gu Qijue's voice came through. General Lin, you contacted me to ask about the 9 trees growing in Cloud City, right? These are mutated trees, the fruits growing on them, whether consumed by super martial artists or mutated creatures, can enhance the former's super martial artist star level and allow the latter to evolve rapidly. They are very important to us. Additionally, I am now leading all super martial artists to the mutated tree in the city center. General Lin, can you bombard the area near that mutated tree? Gu Qijue, with her experience from a previous life, knew very well what the city center was like now. She had just wanted to contact Lin Zhangxiao to have him use rocket artillery to cover the area near the mutated tree in the city center. Lin Zhangxiao smiled faintly. Ever since I saw that the area within 10 kilometers was full of mutated creatures, I've had this idea, just wait for good news. After ending the call with Mu Qingsu, General Lin immediately ordered 10,000 rockets to cover the area near the mutated tree in the city center. At the same time, on the rooftop of a dozen-story building 2 kilometers from the mutated tree in the city center, led by Gu Qijue, White Fox, Zhao Jiasheng, and 10 other super martial artists were observing from afar. Only they dared to get this close. Without Gu Qijue and White Fox present, Zhao Jiasheng, and the other super martial artists would have long been torn apart by the endless mutated creatures. Deng Tian said with immense shock, "What a tall tree. Its branches cover a radius of 1 li. With an ocean of mutated creatures, how can we pick them? And even if we use snake skin bags, we can't pick much." Tang Huang looked at the mutated tree with at least several thousand fruits, wishing he could claim them all for himself. Gu Qijue said calmly, "Take as many as you can. Under the temptation of the mutated fruit, even I, a calamity-level ceiling, cannot make these mutated creatures retreat. The allure of these fruits to them is like a drug addict encountering heroin and going mad." He had never thought of monopolizing this mutated tree. With so many mutated creatures, even if you killed them one by one, you would never finish. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just as Gu Qijue finished speaking, several shadows leaped across the buildings, bypassing all the mutated creatures, and landed beneath the mutated tree. Roar, roar, the tide-like mutated creatures roared at the 4 figures, but none dared to charge forward. With just a glance from those figures, the surrounding mutated creatures whimpered and retreated. "Those are the weird transformation creatures we encountered before. There are actually 4 of them," White Fox gasped upon seeing this. The 4 figures that appeared beneath the mutated tree were indeed 4 weird transformation creatures. Except for differences in skin color and claws, they were almost identical to the one they had encountered before. These 4 weird transformation creatures included 2 with black skin and 4 claws, and 1 with golden skin and 6 claws. All of them exuded an eerie, bizarre, and evil aura. In the early stages, human super martial artists, even saint-grade super martial artists, were slaughtered by weird transformation creatures. Encountering one meant certain death. They were absolutely not to be provoked. "You all stay here. White Fox, come with me?" Gu Qijue, however, was fearless, even subtly excited. Devouring weird transformation creatures was more nourishing than devouring calamity-level creatures. Saying this, he beckoned White Fox, and they leaped between the buildings. 18, instant kill, ancient martial artist morning, 6:30, Gu Qijue brought the White Fox, leaping between the buildings until he landed beneath the towering mutated tree. This immediately drew the gloomy gazes of the 4 weird transformation creatures. They stirred restlessly, their long, pointed tongues licking the blades in their hands, revealing a bloodthirsty look. Boom! Immediately, one black weird transformation creature couldn't hold back, letting out a strange cry as it lunged toward Gu Qijue. Seeking death, Gu Qijue gave a cold smile. The moment the lightning dragon sword appeared in his palm, destructive, ferocious black lightning flashed across his body. As the dragon's sword in his hand slashed out fiercely, a lightning sword light, several meters long and utterly tyrannical,